On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will honor the non-organics of Star Wars. That's right, it's droid ranking time. Tune in to find out which droids from Star Wars film, TV, and games made the list, and if they did, what tier will the brain-dead dudes put them in? Will your favorite droid make the grade? Stay tuned to find out. If circuits aren't your thing, they'll also riff on some Kenobi S2 news coming from Ewan's own face. Of course, we'll end with the question of the week responses and the latest round of top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey, now, everybody. I am extra Casper looking today. The white light in the basement is a little harsh, but that's all right, my friends. We are here, and we are ready for some Star Wars time. Yippee! As Nick and I were just talking, there's like literally nothing going on in Star Wars. And yes, we'll talk about Ewan's dream pitch from LA Comic-Con and some other Ahsoka, like just nitty bitty gritty type of stuff. But it's literally the conversations around Star Wars have all but dried up over the past few months, Nick, since the Acolyte has ended. Yeah, you're going to get some stuff in the news. We were just talking about Jodie Turner-Smith calling out Lucasfilm and Disney for no support for all the racism the cast of the Acolyte faced. But that's really all you're getting. So you and I, we are doing our best to make sure that there is still always time for Star Wars time every Wednesday, 5 p. East, or as close as we get, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. And listen, people, we get it. We've seen the numbers. We've seen the interactions this week. Apparently, ranking droids is not tickling everyone's tits as we like to do. But you guys fucking recommended it, so that's what you get. You know, sometimes when you get what you ask for, it may not be exactly what you dreamed of, but we're doing it. We're going to tier rank the top 25 Star Wars droids from film, TV, maybe even some comics and video games. That's our main topic this week, but we've got some other stuff to get to first, of course, like we always do, the Ask Us Anything in the Pop Talk. We've got 2 little low-hanging fruit nuggets of Star Wars news, and then we are off to rank those non-organic mofos that we all love and possibly hate, depending on which side of the droid fence you fall down on. All we're saying there, Bat, is like, we've got almost 0 replies to the question of the week. It went out a day early. There's been 0 interactions for Ask Us Anything outside of the Spencer family. So it is what it is. Like, we knew this was coming. We knew we'd be in a down period, the doldrums of no current Star Wars. And unless you are making just straight grift hate, you know, you're going to get the scraps. But we love our scraps. All of you. Bat, Ben Ray, Bango's in today. Kramer jumped in talking shit about the Cowboys versus the Steelers. You know what? That stuff doesn't even hurt me anymore. The Steelers have been so irrelevant for so long. We're talking since 2010 that it's like, okay, I expect that stuff to happen. I know when a game's delayed an hour on a Sunday night, and this old motherfucker that stares at clouds has to stay up and watch it, that it will end on the opposing team winning on a last play touchdown. And sure enough, it happened. Mike Tomlin sucks. Don't listen to any of the national media talking heads out there. He is mediocre. Enough said. and poor young Nick, you guys are fucked now too, because Carr's dead.
But I mean, like, realistically, my expectations going into this season were about as well as the team is performing. Like, we'll have high moments like the first 2 games, but most of the time our offense will look awful. Like, we're going to have a shitload of injuries because we've had the shitload of injuries. He got my man Rashid
18 points this week, Nick, so I'm going to be missing that shit because you guys, you got like Schmo Flow as a backup, right?
I mean, we're probably going to end up starting Spencer Rattler if I had to take a guess. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
And he transferred like 9 colleges. He was one of those guys who's like, transfer portal, I'll leave.
Yeah, I think it was like his 2 primary ones were Oklahoma and South Carolina. So,
yeah.
I mean, who knows? We'll see how things go.
It's the NFL,
but yeah,
man.
I mean,
you never know. It's just like and that's why, as much as I hate them, and I literally wish zero success to Tom Brady moving forward, but it is amazing what those cocksuckers did in New England for how long they did it. When you factor in injuries, players losing skill, aging out, shit like that, it is wild. So that's probably why Big Bill is dating a 24-year-old girl at this point in time. So good for him.
Yeah. Well, once she realizes that he may not get another coaching job again, she may find somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. So all right. We won't go too far off into the NFL weeds, although it's always great to talk a little football. But fuck the Steelers. Mike Tomlin is a joke. Buckeyes, though, massive game this weekend. Number 2 versus 3 in Oregon. Finally going to see if this team is for real or not. So I'm excited but nervous. Hopefully I don't throw anything. All right, my friends. Let's do a little Ask Us Anything. Like I said, I did forget to post the second opportunity to ask a question, so that's on me. But our first round of questions always go out on Monday through Instagram. I also post them on Discord, I believe, so get in there. We got an open link down there in the description of this fucking video. All right.
B-Mad hitting us with a $5.
Yeah, B-Mad, he always gets preference here. He's throwing around that Skrilla like a pimp. B-Mad, he's kicking it off. He's getting it right in to Ask Us Anything before we even get there. Anyone peep the new MMO Throne and Liberty?
I have.
Okay, go for it, because I have not. I've been sucked back into fucking Diablo 4 like a dickhead because of Vessel of Hatred came out this week.
Yeah, I pre-ordered Diablo 4 and I played it for probably 2 weeks and I was like, it's just boring. I have been playing Throne of Liberty, so it's free to play on Steam. It's from Amazon Studios. It's actually really good. Like I've been enjoying myself with it. It's like the graphics of the game are actually super impressive for an MMO. It's some of the best MMO graphics I've ever seen. I find the combat to be pretty fun too because it allows you to play multiple roles. So for example, like you can be a healer and a tank if you wanted to, even though you would never do that, but you could be like a tank DPS. You could be like 2 different styles of DPS. So you could be like melee DPS and range DPS, which is how I've built my character right now. But I've only played it for probably 10 hours or so since it came out last week, I think, somewhere around there. It's fun though. It's a fun game. Run around and play solo or with a group. Graphics are great. Combat's fun. So yeah, I mean, if anybody out there is an MMO fan, I would definitely recommend Throne and Liberty.
Rock and roll. Well, good thing young Nick was on top of that because my old ass has no clue what you've been talking about. I've been knee deep in Star Wars Outlaws. Beat the campaign this weekend, Nick. Choice. It's a fun fucking game, fun little story. Obviously, it's one of those deals when you finish the campaign, you can go back and kind of clean up all the side shit you may have left behind, which I had plenty. I'm kind of like you. We've talked about this before where we'll go fucking balls to the wall in these open world games to the point where we'll literally burn ourselves out.
Yeah, so I need to stop doing that.
I've gotten a little better. And Outlaws started off rocky. I mean, I literally spent 30 hours on the first planet. And then I was like, okay, man, I can already start to feel the creep coming in. Like, do I really want to go do another side mission? And I finally progressed the main story. And it's a good little story. I like what happens with Kay and the crew. And obviously, I know I'm going to have to kind of run with ND5 today when we talk about him in our droid breakdown because you haven't got to experience ND5 yet. But I love him. I mean, him and Kay, their bond and how things kind of play out. Outlaws, better than I expected, especially after all the negativity and the Ubisoft fucked release that really kind of put a doom and gloom cloud over this game's future. It's good. And so I'm excited for you in November, late November, where you can check it out. But for now, I am spamming buttons and grinding my ass in Diablo. And I took enough time off, didn't play any seasons since the OG, that I getting into it last night, I was like, you know what? I kind of need a fucking brainless just masher like this right now. So I'm kind of excited. Still need to get back and finish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I see as being considered as the game of the year at most outlets. So here we go. All right. Nice. Be mad is the flack that Outlaws got fair? No. The game itself, like I said, got shit on by Ubisoft's publishing model and the early access release that was not ready for early access. Outside of that, I think any negativity you would have seen is coming from the grifting crowd, so you know it was disingenuous. It was, kind of jumping the gun and just doing what they do. Just kind of stirring the fucking pot for easy algo views and to hate on a game that isn't about a white tough guy. So, I mean, that's where we're at. Hey, Double A made it back. Welcome there, my friend.
Yeah, hello there.
I think Outlaws, if you legitimately enjoy Star Wars, you like the OT era, you like the, Star Wars planets, landscapes, musics, what the world would be like to inhabit it, I don't know how you can't play Outlaws. So I'll leave it at that. All right, now we will get into our questions. Thank you, B-Mad. We appreciate you, brother. Like I said, good to see Double A coming back. They popped in last week, so we didn't piss them off that much yet. All right, perfect. All right, Nick, let's get some of these questions up. Like I said, our man Spencer really kind of helped us out this week. He must get bored sometimes in between offloads, but we appreciate him. He always has some content generating ideas for us or questions. So let's see what they had to ask us this week. We'll be starting with our boy Kramer, who likes a lot of bad sports teams. Double A, Ubisoft, their business, they're just not good at business, basically. But I can't blame Ubisoft's shit business on Massive and the work they did on the game itself. All right, here we go, Nick. Coming from Michael Kramer 98. What's your shit? You know what? We're gonna punt on this one, Michael, because Michael's asking, what's your guys' opinion on a potential season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi if it happens? We actually are going to talk about what Ewan was saying at LACC. So if you're okay with that, Kramer, we will directly address this in a longer form segment. Thank you. All right, Baron's Black Series. What other genre would you like a Star Wars movie or show to be done in? For him, he wants a Star Wars mockumentary.
I think that would actually be pretty funny. I don't know. It's hard because I feel like we've covered a lot of, like, Star Wars has actually covered quite a decent bit of genres already. Like, I consider Solo to be a very good action adventure film, like very similar to something like, Uncharted, Indiana Jones, stuff like that.
Acolyte, your murder mystery, right?
Yeah, murder mystery. I mean, the Boba Fett series was supposed to be more of kind of like a mob drama, but it didn't turn out that way, right? Like, it was a little, I'm not really sure where to bucket.
Yeah, and Boba. I mean, I guess they call The Mandalorian a Western too, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's like a, space Western, which is very similar to like Firefly and Serenity and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. Like, I think that I think that we have been lacking on the side of like like straight up like fantasy Star Wars for a while.
There you go.
I think that there were elements of straight up fantasy Star Wars in the Acolyte and obviously in the sequel trilogy, but the sequel trilogy is now, 5 years past us. I enjoy fantasy, and one of the best things that's out on TV right now is Rings of Power season 2. Like, are
you done yet?
Yeah. We watched the finale, and I firmly believe that show is the best show on television right now. It's not even close.
Fog, right? I mean, dude, going into that finale, you had to be, even when they did like the recap for the finale, you're like, holy shit, they got a lot of stuff that they need to kind of wrap up or at least move into the next season. And they did it.
Yeah, they did it. Like, they were able to do it in such a seamless, well executed fashion.
Grand Elf.
Yeah. Like, you get Gandalf, you get the reveal that he is Gandalf, and like us, like real Tolkien heads the whole time have been like, is he a blue wizard? Anything like that. But it totally makes sense that they would make that character Gandalf. There were too many signs from the beginning.
Tom Bombadil was probably some of my best shit.
It was just absolutely incredible. And like the way that they closed out the Gandalf stuff at the end with like, hey, let's start our new song, and knowing how much music plays a part in Tolkien's world and its cosmology and its creation.
I mean, dude, Arda was created by the Iluvatar and the Einar singing.
In the Einar, exactly. So, I mean, it was beautiful. And then like the end with Sauron and Celebrimbor was just
awesome.
Oh man, it just all of it was fantastic. Do
you notice how he fantastic. Like kills him? It almost resembles what happens in the books where he uses him as his banner, like literally mounts him to a fucking pole, and that is his war banner moving forward, is Celebrimbor's body.
I mean, it's absolutely insane well they close that season.
I've probably sunk close to 5 hours over the past 3 weeks or so just watching long form Lord of the Rings Tolkien universe deep dive documentaries. It's because of this show, and I'm just like, the show has made me want to relearn the lore and master the lore again, like I when I was 20.
Yeah, dude, it really it reignites some of those things that you knew when you were younger, and then like you've forgotten.
King Durin jumping at the Balrog.
Like Durin at the Balrog. I mean, everything that's going on with Pelargir, and we know how that's going to end. I mean, like it's just going to be so satisfying to see Kemen and all of the Black Numenorians, which like that's how they're referred to in Tolkien lore. The Black Numenorians are the unfaithful Numenorians that sided with Ar-Pharazôn and stuff like that, and then turned to Morgoth worship.
So where we ended is we are headed towards the War of Elves and Sauron. I mean that is the major period that season 3 is probably going to cover. And Nick's right. This is when Numenor starts to kind of really start to encroach on the Middle Earth. You got to see it. They already wanted to take that port town, and Pharazôn comes in, and essentially it's the men of Numenor that tip the scales. They're the ones that ultimately help the elves take out Sauron, and Sauron actually yields to Ar-Pharazôn, and they take him prisoner, and that's how Numenor gets sunk into the ocean, because they're also stupid.
Exactly. I mean, just the Numenor stuff was a little
hated
slow
it in episode 3, but they fixed it.
Yeah, but they really got it moving. I mean, I really do think that, like, I can't really give any notes on the show. I really think that they executed it so well. And
I mean, Nick, you could be like, well, some things happened out of order. They actually made the Elven rings after the other rings, and Sauron had the army attacking Eregion, not this made up Arda guy. But I don't care. It all still funnels to the canon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I love what they did with Adar. I think that the inclusion of Adar's character in this show makes complete and total sense, because like what the fuck were the orcs doing while Sauron was out? You think they're just sitting there waiting for him to come back? Like they have, like, the way that they humanized the orcs and turned them into like a race of beings, and not just like a murderous like cacophony of bodies. Like, it was fantastic. And the way that they used Adar's character as one of the original elves that was corrupted by Morgoth to create the race of orcs was fantastic. And like the love that he had for the orcs, and like you see like his death scene was like it was painful to watch. And then just to turn around 20 minutes later or 15 minutes later and see how Sauron just kills that orc straight up when he's like, well, what do we do now? Like, and it's like the storytelling aspect of Adar's character that rolls into Sauron's character taking over the orcs and stuff. I mean, it was masterful.
Yeah, it was all good. It was all good. I mean, and listen, a lot of this stuff you could argue it's piecemeal from Unfinished Tales or a random book here. This isn't all just Silmarillion. This is expanded upon on all sorts of excerpts.
This is letters and like a lot of stuff.
And they are working with Simon Tolkien. I don't know if that's like 50 Tolkiens removed, but there is a Tolkien that they at least...
There's a guy with the name in there, yeah.
And they have a very specific charge. Amazon only owns like certain things they can do. I know that also kind of affects the story. But listen, I know we've probably gone too long and we probably should just dedicate next week's episode to Rings of Power, but it's a banger. And if it kind of rekindled your that just, man, Middle Earth, Tolkien, what's this? Who's that? Melkor, Morgoth, are they the same? Get on YouTube. The Nerd of the Rings, a great channel.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Great channel, great production. Long form. They don't speak monotone, so you're not necessarily falling asleep with all this fairly dry material. But
he like tries to do voices and stuff.
He does.
So he'll, like,
he
give
does.
you history, and he'll like do voices for the different characters.
No, it's great stuff, and he's got like anything from 25 minutes to 2 hours long. You want to learn about the First Age? Got it. You want to learn about the first fall of Melkor? Got it. You want to see what Sauron was doing? Got it. You want to know where Gandalf was traveling? Got it. So Nerd of the Rings, not that our little channel needs to be promoting these behemoths, but Jesus, great content.
Fantastic.
Yes, so, do a recap next week. Okay.
To bring it back around to the question, I think I would like to like a show that is more like that does kind of go back and explore the, you know, the origins of the Force and stuff, like the things that we've heard about Mangold's movie potentially, you know, and who knows if that'll happen or
right,
not.
Because that one should be really high fantasy, right? I mean,
you know, I mean, you're talking about
discovery of the Force. Yeah,
the first discovery of the Force, the formation of the Jedi Order, potentially moving into the first schism between the Jedi and the Dark Jedi, the formation of the Sith, Korriban, them taking over as leaders of the actual Sith race. I mean, this is stuff that I would really enjoy as like a high fantasy enjoyer, and we really haven't had too much of the sci-fi fantasy element.
Right. Yeah, I got
like
that.
In that.
I'm with you, man. I mean, I would like that just pure fantasy-based stuff. You know, almost like the forming of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, kind of like that. Or I do think the mockumentary is a pretty brilliant idea. I think
mockumentary would be funny.
If done well, that would be funny as shit. You know, it'd almost be like a live action Lego parody. You know how Lego just mocks and mocks and mocks Star Wars.
It would be great if it was like you know, I haven't watched The Office. Like Taylor and I have tried to watch it, but we just couldn't get into it. But like one of those style of shows, like comedy shows where it's like inside of the Empire.
Yeah, that's what BMAD said. It should be like The Office following like a group of stormtroopers or something. So
yeah, I think that'd be great.
Here you go from Bango, real quick. We'll do a live one. Nick, that kind of story sounds better suited for a multi-season series, which means Disney would totally fuck it up. That's right.
I mean, it probably would be. It would be great for a multi-season series, but I think that you could also take something like that and do, you know, like obviously you're not going to have 3 books like Lord of the Rings did for the 3 movies, but like if you did like a trilogy of like the founding of the Force, the forming of the Jedi Order, and then the fall and then the schism, and then the fall of the Dark Jedi and the formation of the Sith, I think that you have a very clear, distinctive 3-film opportunity there. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, AA coming in with the murder suspense, kind of like the Dark Horse comics, Vader trying to find out a traitor within the Empire. Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
I mean, we'd take anything Vader. He could be sitting there, you know, diddling himself, and I would watch a series worth of that. Yeah, we don't know anymore with streaming. I think it's clear streaming, at least on Star Wars, is on pause outside of Ahsoka. We know we're going to get Andor next year, but that's about it.
It's up in the air, but we'll see.
Well, it's like even Netflix. I mean, come on. I know they're the kings, but even they are shitheads. And I know some of our listeners have watched this series, Chaos, Nick. But
I watched the first episode, and it was interesting.
They've canceled it. So even
I saw that.
It's been out for like what, a fucking 6-7 weeks, and they're like, fuck it, who cares?
And the thing is like apparently the streaming numbers on it weren't that. It's like you had like 15 million viewers of the show in the first week, and it's like, well, what? I mean, and look, maybe it's like you got 15 million viewers on the first episode, and then episode 2's only got 2 million viewers. We don't know. We don't know what the full numbers
it's
look
just,
like.
They need to, you got to like give a show at least a year. See, like if late assholes like myself come pick it up 6 months after it debuted. How can you tell if anything is a hit or miss if you only give it 6-7 weeks and zero promotion?
6 weeks is ridiculous. Like 6 weeks is ridiculous.
Right.
So yeah,
I mean,
I'm. We'll see. We'll see where Star Wars streaming goes. Obviously, we have the topic that we want to talk about with Ewan and his thoughts on Obi-Wan season 2, and then potentially what's happening with Ahsoka season 2. So yeah, we'll see.
All right, so here we go. Coming from Bango, a real question now, Nick. Is there a particular Force tradition you'd like to see further explored, or an in-universe religion in general?
I mean, I think that it would be interesting to see a better portrayal of Life Day. That's the one that most people are familiar with just from Star Wars Holiday Special. If you've ever played Star Wars The Old Republic MMO or even Star Wars Galaxies, there were always Life Day celebrations during the Christmas time, in the US and, around the world. So I think that would be something that would be interesting to explore. It's just like, how do you incorporate that? In in-universe religion, I mean, this isn't necessarily a religion, but it's it's from the expanded universe. I think that the Killik hive mind was a very interesting thing to follow at that time. Killiks are essentially like praying mantis type creatures that all are incorporated into a hive mind and are able to communicate with each other telepathically. And in that expanded universe storyline, Jaina Solo and one of her compatriots had integrated themselves into a Killik hive mind for some. I read this so long ago I can't remember the specifics, but they actually were incorporated into the Killik hive mind, and they were able to communicate with each other through that Killik hive mind bond and stuff. So that would be something interesting, not necessarily a religion, but something interesting to explore.
I think for me, at least in live action, because I don't like reading, I'm stupid, it would be the actual Sith race. And
that
their
would be really
culture,
cool,
their religion, of their caste system. I mean, they are all whacked out from what I watched in some short YouTube documentary type of stuff. I need to just, once things are back to normal, I just got to start paying for YouTube Premium. I watch a lot of YouTube now. It's kind of my go-to when I don't have an actual show. Pull up YouTube, see what sort of stupid nerdy shit I can watch.
Yeah, I've been watching quite a bit of YouTube as well. It's just easy, quick content. Yeah. You can jump around a lot.
Right, and it's always very specific. You can find exactly the type of shit you want to watch. All right, another one from Baron here. What keeps droids from uprising like L337, aka Leet? Like, why is Chopper not more of a problem?
I mean, I think that with Leet, right? Like the Leet was specifically modified by Lando to not have those restraints.
I think he also let her herself modify her programming.
Yeah, she definitely had the ability to modify her own programming and everything like that. So I think that's why, but I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure if that's true.
That's one of the reasons, but Bat's bringing up another one. A lot of times they'll have one of those restraining bolts on them.
Yeah, restraining bolts. Because I mean, even in that scene on Kessel, they were popping restraining bolts off of the droids, correct. And then once they did that, they were they went crazy. Yep. I mean, the same thing. It's the same thing for R2D2. I mean, you remember in A&H, Luke pops his restraining bolt off, and then that motherfucker's just gone. He's out of there.
He sets him up too. He's like, hey, 3PO, tell this idiot farm boy that I can't use my holo projector with this thing on my tit. And he's like, all right. And Luke chips it off, and there we go.
Boom, and then he runs away. So yeah, I think it is mostly to do with their owners putting, restraining bolts on their programming. Yeah, stuff like that.
Gets into that debate of, sentient artificial intelligence. Are they real? Should you treat them like another organic or not?
Yeah.
That is right. Leek dialed up her fucking subroutines, like Bango's saying there. All right, we got another question here. What are y'all Remember, Spencer's from the South. Where y'all going to be for Halloween this year?
I haven't been told yet.
So you guys still do it? Like you go to like an adult party or something? Or
yeah, we last year we went to a friend's house for a Halloween party. It was fun. Like we dressed as the Night of the Living Dummy from Goosebumps. So we both dressed up as we had like suits on, we painted our face, stuff like that. So it was fun. This year I'm not 100%
Here's
sure.
And this is going to sound weird coming from a guy that basically is just a big kid, but for whatever reason, I don't like adult Halloween stuff. I don't think adults should have Halloween parties and shit like that. But because I have a kid and I'm not a shithead dad, I'm going to be a Swiftie because she's Taylor Swift this year. So
nice.
Whatever that is, I'm dressing
that's an easy costume.
Swiftie.
I don't think you have to dress up much. You can just.
I'm going to be short Travis Kelce, or slow Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I just don't have any hair. You know, he's got that new hairdo he's working. I won't be able to pull that off.
Yeah, not buying a wig for that.
No. So there you go. But outside of that, I think once my kid moves on, I'll be back to non-participation in it. I think the last time I dressed up as Halloween as an adult, I was in college, and that was just to get fucked up and hopefully hook up with a girl. So I'm a scumbag. All right. This coming from Blanche, Mrs. Baba Spency. What do y'all like to put on your baked potato? I like these questions.
I'm a pretty standard baked potato enjoyer, so it's just butter, shredded cheese, a little bit of bacon bits, maybe some green onion on there.
Damn. All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't get too crazy. I would do the butter, although I think that's a little overkill. I would throw some sour cream up in that bitch, some chives, sharp ass cheddar, finely shredded. Keep it in the skin, mash it all up, scoop it up, and then like a man, eat the skin raw. That's how we do it. Damn, I want a baked potato. Okay, Beast Mobile. What character from another form, entertainment, or franchise would make the most sense to you as a character in Star Wars? For example, I think Iron Man or Cyborg from DC could fit in the Star Wars universe.
It's interesting, right? Because I don't think Iron Man fits that well, but that's B-Mad's opinion. Because honestly, if you look at Star Wars, they're not that there are elements that are technologically advanced, but they got lightsabers and they have
they're like retro tech.
Yeah, but everything else is not that high tech. Like even Darth Vader's suit is kind of shitty in comparison to Tony Stark's. Who do I think would fit well? That's a good question. I mean, I don't have one off the top of my head. I think that somebody, and this may sound weird, right? But I think somebody like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park would fit well because he's a historian. He's somebody who's very interested in artifacts in the past and discovering things about the past history of planets. And really would kind of fits in that Dr. Aphra style of mold. Obviously not crazy and working for the Empire, but he has that build that fits somebody in Star Wars.
All
I
right.
feel.
I'm going to Ben Rye here. He puts baked beans or tuna in his potatoes. That is hardcore, man. That is hardcore. Ben, are you Midwest? That sounds like a Midwest type of potato. Interested in that one. For me, Nick, I actually got 3, and 2 of them are tongue-in-cheek, kind of already in the universe: Predator and Xenomorphs.
Yeah, that's true.
The other one would be a T-800, a Terminator.
Yeah. I think a T-800 is. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much exactly what the Dark Troopers were.
Right. So that's like a
similar,
1-to-1 cheat answer, but hey, there you go.
It fits really well. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we got for our questions. Thank you, fans. Like I said, we usually put out the prompts on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show. But we have been throwing them up on YouTube to channel members as well as our Discord, which is open. Link in the description. Speaking of channel members, we'd love for you to join. You can join as low as $1.99 a month. You get sweet little emojis to use in chat that progress the longer you are a fan, plus first hit on a lot of our shorts and other type of stuff. All right, so real quick, got a little pop culture talk. You know how we like to do here. We like to keep you well learned in all things pop culture. And my ass loves to go to movies. So, it's a UK kind of baked potato. Got it. All right, thanks, Ben. That makes complete sense now. You might as well throw some haggis in there, too. So, this movie has definitely been making its rounds on social media since it came out last week. We're talking about Joker Folie à Deux. Joker 2. And I'll tell you right now, I am in the opposite camp of most people. I'm not going to tell you this is a work of art or a masterpiece or even remotely as good as the first one, but I will tell you I think the 30% ratings and shit like that is slightly severe. I know most people are upset because it's more or less a musical. And the way it ends, and some people feel like they a ruse, or Todd Phillips got one over on them, and I tend to disagree. I watched a movie about a guy locked up in a loony bin that was nuts. So yes, I could see him having song and dance numbers in his head and fantasizing what his true reality is. The way it ends, light spoilers, or I don't really think it's a spoiler. Let's just say I never thought Arthur Fleck was the guy, even from the first movie. I always thought he was a mental person having a breakdown, and this character came out. So I'll leave it at that. I think it really is a movie that you can't just rely on what people are telling you online. You do have to go watch it. I've heard stories of people walking out of Joker. I don't quite get that. But like I said, I'm a little softer on it than the 30% it's getting over on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, Nick, it's a complete and utter failure. It made less money than Morbius. It's awful. Like, it's just getting its teeth kicked in.
I mean, honestly, it's not surprising to me though. Yeah. Like that the way that movie was marketed, nobody wants to go see a 2-hour long fucking musical. Like, especially about the Joker. And I will say this, I didn't like the first one. So I have no interest in this one, but watching the marketing for this movie, I was like, this shit's going to tank so hard. It's going to be hilarious. And it did. It was bad marketing. It was a movie that honestly, when it came out, it was just kind of shock content. And I just don't think that there's an actual interest in this. I think that in general, the character that was played in the first Joker movie was just kind of goofy and unrelatable. And I don't think I think that even if it wasn't a musical, it would have struggled. I just don't think there's an appetite for this.
I love the first Joker. So did most of the world. It's $1 billion movie, so we can't say it was some pile of shit. You don't get to $1 billion without word of mouth and second screenings.
Have you seen DC movies that have gotten to $1 billion?
Have any gotten to $1 billion?
That's true. Also, I mean, Tross, if you want to say that,
here's the deal. Like B-Matt said, I like Joker. I went into this hoping to like it just as much as the first one. That does not happen, but I will say it is not the fucking pile of shit that many people are running with. I think it is a little more, I don't want to say thoughtful, but it's a different take on someone with a severe mental illness and possible multiple personalities. So all the singing I get. I think it's not so much the musical aspect. I will say some of the musical numbers probably go too long, and I think that's because they had Lady Gaga's talents, and they were like, hey, let's just let's run with this scene a bit longer than we should. Outside of that, the musicals don't bother me at all, and the ending didn't bother me. The ending is like, yeah, this makes sense. This guy ain't the dude. He's a disturbed person that kind of became an icon that other people are going to run with the mantle now. So outside of that, I know I'm not talking young Nick to go see this. I would recommend, as I would with anything, go experience shit for yourself. Unless you're on a super tight budget and you can't afford movies or this, that, and the other thing, I think reviews are poisonous before you actually get to see it yourself. They will set an expectation that's going to affect your overall intake. So there you go. I would say it's more of a 60% than a 30. So I'm not saying it's awesome, but
the telling thing was that Gunn said nothing about this movie. Well, somebody asked him about it.
Here's what's coming out,
Nick.
Nick.
Anything to do with it?
Basically, Todd Phillips didn't have to answer to anyone. So James Gunn gave him notes, but he didn't owe him anything. They decided not to screen test it. So look, Todd Phillips made his choices. There's no doubt about it. So it is what it is. Yeah. I'm just telling you, or not you, other people. Don't always let other people's opinions, because that's what a review is ultimately, dictate your own understanding of a piece of entertainment.
Yeah. It'll be on fucking HBO Max in 2.5 weeks.
Easy. So. There's no way. There's no way theaters are going to keep this on screens.
Well, because DC's losing money by keeping it in theaters. Like, that's the truth of it.
Right.
Is like you have to pay per theater that this movie's in. So if this movie made $3 million or something like that opening weekend, they're pulling this shit everywhere.
Hey, be mad. That's pretty much everything. I tend to be a little softer on things than Nick. I don't know if it's just I'm old and stupid or I've smoked too much weed or what, like, but I'm a bit less critical than young Nick.
Nick should make Joker rage bait stuff. I haven't seen it. But the thing to me is, like, if you're going to market a movie that was like, if you're going to market a movie that was not a musical the first time as a 2.5 hour long musical with Lady Gaga in it and him dancing around singing, nobody's going to go see it. Like, it's just plain and simple. Like, that is just marketing 101. You have turned a franchise that wasn't a musical into a musical, and people just don't want to see it.
There's musical numbers, but the whole movie isn't a musical, if that makes sense. Like, it's a fucking crazy guy having a song and dance number in his head for most of the movie. How's that? All right, here we go. Moving on, I got one that is quality, and it reminded me of just how damn good of an actor James McAvoy is, and that is Speak No Evil. All right? The dude is jacked in it. He plays an amazing, somewhat crazy but stable person. I think James McAvoy is severely underrated, and we need him in Star Wars. I believe people were casting him as Malgus last week. I'll take it. The guy is just, I mean, he plays a character that you can't help but feel a little scared of and a little creeped out by. It's like if you're at a picnic and you're there with, maybe neighbor friends, not best friends, and they're kind of popping off in a way that is starting to make you feel awkward. Like the douche chills, Nick, when you get douche chills watching someone else be a douche, and you almost want to turn it off. Like, I don't like. He's like one of those guys, but he's a mean douche. So very, very good role played by McAvoy. Good little flick, nice little thriller. Highly recommend. All right.
Yeah, I like James McAvoy.
He's awesome, and really, work. Blumhouse, they put out good shit. Like, it's kind of like B movie esque, but it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's time for Star Wars time, my friends. Yeah, cringe, douche chills, whatever you want to call it. When the truth. Whatever about Bat's talking about. Listen, the main problem with Joker 2 is everyone thought that Arthur Fleck was actually the Joker, and he's not. So there you go. All right. So, Nick, over the weekend, Ewan and Hayden, they're out cashing in on their roles from over 20 years ago or whatever. Can't blame them. I'd be doing the same fucking thing. It is nice seeing these two now literally macking the con circuit. They pretty much go and do double photo ops left and right, probably charging motherfuckers 50 to 100 a pop. Good for you. But anyways, at I think LA Comic-Con, they had Ewan on stage, asked him questions, and he revealed that now I don't know if that's Ewan and the mouse in his pocket or if the they means Ewan, Lucasfilm, and Disney, are exploring ideas for Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2. And the one nugget he threw out that people have kind of latched onto, Nick, is that he really wants more flashbacks with Hayden, and in particular, he wants to throw on the Clone Wars armor like we saw Obi-Wan wear. Actually, right here it is, my hot toy Clone Wars. This is who he wants to be, okay? He wants to be this guy. If you're on the stream, you see my Hot Toys General Kenobi in his clone gear. So that's who he wants to play. I guess my question to you, young Nick, is should that be a second season of Kenobi where somehow they'd have to formulate a present day plot again using Kenobi somehow when he was supposed to be fucking holed up on Tatooine, and then to show flashbacks? Or should they just be like, you know what, fuck it. Sam Jackson has said he would return. Natalie Portman is talking about, yeah, I'm open to returning. Why don't we just do a fucking limited Clone Wars live action series?
I think that would be the better option, because like that was my first thought, is like, if that's what he wants to focus on and that's what Lucasfilm want to focus on, then just do, like, you didn't cover all the Clone Wars in the Clone Wars. You had time jumps. You can add in stories, whatever. It's all fucking made up. Like, there's no definitive timeline to the Clone Wars. Like, we got, 7 seasons of it, and I'm sure that they can add some bullshit in there just to give these people an opportunity to play in the sandbox. So, like, just bring them back. Just do a live action 7-episode, 8-episode live action Clone Wars run with the crew, with all the people coming back. And I think that would probably do better. And what it would also serve to do is introduce people who have not watched the Clone Wars to that series.
I mean, shit, dude, just remake the final 3 episodes of the Clone Wars season 7. There you go.
Good.
Done.
Yeah, you could do that. You could add an arc in somewhere in the middle. You could add an arc in anywhere in there. Like, obviously it would probably be towards the end of the Clone Wars, since you don't want to have to do too much age regression on everyone. But just do it. I'd just do it. Yeah.
Hey, she's
I would rather that than like a Kenobi season 2 that is fully flashbacks, or that is just mostly dominated by
you know what I mean?
flashbacks.
It's like if it was set as a continuation of Kenobi series, like I said when we started this, they would have to have a present day plot for us to follow. It wouldn't just be him sitting in the fucking cave dreaming about the past. That would I guess that could be the vehicle.
I mean, if you want to be the vehicle for it, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, but then at that point, it's like, what's the point of the veil? Just make it a Clone Wars live action. Like, if you're just going to be like, okay, well, here's 3 minutes of Kenobi
you're right,
talking about how he wants to reminisce.
They still would have to justify showing him to us again in the original trilogy timeline. Like, why are we seeing him again in this timeline? So you would still have to have some impetus for, this is what Kenobi was doing 8 years before A New Hope. Okay, well, like I think we've kind of convinced ourselves that let's just roll it back, right? Let's just set this in the fucking Clone Wars. Yeah,
I mean, Divided saying she thought that I was done with Clone Wars after Bad Batch. I wish I could be done with
Bad Batch
Clone
isn't
Wars.
the Clone Wars, though. Bad Batch is the Rise of the Empire, so he is not lying. He is not lying.
But I do wish that we could get away from the timeline. I really do, but like they just...
Well, Nick, you do that, you're going to get people like Star Wars Theory upset and say they're spoiling and breaking canon, and then it'll be canceled after one season.
That dumb motherfucker is going to be upset no matter what they make. So it doesn't matter. Like, they could make a Star Wars show with him in it, and he would hate it because he's an idiot. But like, that's just how he is. So giving any thought to that guy is just a waste of time.
Thank you.
But like, I think that and look, if they want to give Ewan an opportunity to play and give Hayden more of an opportunity to be Anakin, then go for it. But I do think that ultimately, like, all you're doing is spinning your wheels in this timeline. Like, you'll inflate your viewership numbers because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan and it's Hayden
but
back.
But they'll bitch about it anyways. I know a lot of people watch Kenobi, but it's one of the most, it's another divisive one where some people are like, this should never fucking exist, or this sucked. This wasn't even about Kenobi. It was about the girls and blah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's hard for me to say, like, I do wish that they would move away from it. But if you're going to put out a series that's going to have Ewan as Obi and Hayden as Anakin, and not like like 2 or 3 minute glimpses of Anakin, but like him playing live action Anakin in the Clone Wars again, of course I'm going to watch it. But I do firmly believe that like they're hurting themselves by doing it, because you're not expanding storylines into places that people aren't familiar with. You're not building out the universe more. You're wasting resources on stuff that has been, in canon and in Star Wars for, at this point, 30 years. So I do think that we need to move away from it. But like, if it's gonna make money and like people are gonna watch it, then of course they'll probably do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it's a shame because the idea of getting, like you said, more live action flashback Hayden and Ewan, or the potential of it being in the present timeline, getting some more live action Vader with Hayden behind the mask. Sure, we'd all like it. It's just like, it would be nice to get away from these Skywalker cunts, but it's not happening. The fans have thrown so many grenades at that now. I don't think they're going to really even try anymore. So it's sad, but here we are.
I mean, like, but the thing is like they shouldn't try. Like Disney's operating stance should never be like, we need to make something that's going to make all of these toxic fans not toxic fans anymore. They just need to make good Star Wars and be like, you know what? Like, that's it.
Did you see the news that a lot of studios are considering making like mega fan think tanks? And just like letting fan bros and fan girls kind of contribute to future storytelling. I'm like, that is the worst fucking idea on the planet.
Oh, it 100% is, because it's the worst idea that you could possibly have. Yeah. You know why? Because you're going to get 500 people in there, and 250 of them are going to think one way, 100 of them are going to think another way, 30 of them are going to think another way, and those 30 are going to be the loudest. And it's going to be like, well, like, what are you going to do then?
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're going to let Twitter write our next Star Wars series. Like, good luck. Good luck with that.
It's like,
you idiots.
It's like, just like, and it's hard for them to be able to understand that until they do it. Like, so go for it. Like, get 1,000 people in a room and be like, what do you want to see in Star Wars? And get those percentages going, and then make something.
Big muscles and guns and laser swords.
Yeah. And it's like, and then watch what'll happen. Like, they'll build it off of what all these fans said, and it's going to be the same bullshit, because they don't care. Like, they don't care that their input has been heard. They just want something to be angry at. So like,
yeah,
I like, go for it. Do it with DC. Get fucking James Gunn in front of like a big ass like theater of people, and tell him.
Nick loves taking cheap shots at DC and James Gunn. I love it,
because DC is the biggest example of like a pristine franchise, like a pristine
that's
brand
just been treated like garbage.
That has been absolutely destroyed.
WB spent Hollywood. $200 million to make Joker.
Yeah, dude. Like, like they're lucky. Like, James Gunn is honestly lucky that they haven't just been like, you know what, we're fucking done. Like, like you signed a contract.
I think honestly, man, his Superman coming out summer 25 may be the, you know what, we need to just quit and sell DC to recoup our losses.
Do it to something else. Like, but that's the thing is like, you'll have, because like, what's going to happen? Like, you'll get fan base. Like, you can't possibly have a good representation of the fan base. No. It's so hard to do that. Like, how would you even do it? It's like, okay, well, we're going to take Star Wars Time Show fans, and we'll take Beyond the DNC fans, which think this way, and then we'll take Star Wars theory morons, and we'll pull them this way. It would turn
into a Royal Rumble. Like, we'd end up physically harming each other if we were in the same room.
Yeah, and then you take casuals who are like, I don't really like, just give me some lightsaber fights and bullshit and I'll watch it. Like, there's not a lot. Like, I just don't think that it's not like a commercial where it's like, you watch this commercial for this car. What do you think we can improve for? Would you buy this car? Like, it's just like the focus grouping is very different.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like,
it's weird. All right. Well, there you go. We got one other bit of news. This is just a quick hitter here, but we've got a report from Bespin Bulletin that the Ahsoka Season 2 production should be kicking off next April, which makes sense. It lines up to that story we reported on a few weeks ago where Natasha Liu Bordizzo she was at a con or D23 or something. It's like, yeah, I love it. I love being here. Love being on stage, interacting with you Star Wars fans, but I'm not going to be here next year because we'll be shooting Ahsoka. So that's lining up. And really, people, that is it. That is the last Star Wars TV show in the production pipeline. There's nothing guaranteed after that. There's been some rumblings that they're open to making more Skeleton Crew, even though it was announced as a limited series. They're already starting, Nick, if fan reaction is good. So
yeah, and that's like the most, like, if fan reaction is good is the most subjective.
Yeah, again, what does that mean?
Basically, is that means
views?
That like
is
we're
it
not
dollars? Is it sustained minutes? Who the fuck knows? It's all arbitrary.
It's an internal Lucasfilm only metric. Only they know what they're looking for.
But it does seem these days that, once Dave became chief creative, that Dave still pretty much only cares about his babies. How many good notes is he really giving the people, or how involved is he for real? I think he's more concerned with Ahsoka, his movie coming up, and helping John with Mando and Grogu.
It will be. I am interested to see how Dave fares in a realm where he's not just working with his own creations anymore.
I don't think he'll ever do that in life. I think this is it for him. He'll be like George. He's going to retire as George Jr., always working in Star Wars until he's done.
Yeah, I mean, well, I meant when he has to go and work on, like the Mangold movie, or he's got to go work on the Taika movie, and it's like, oh well, I didn't make these characters.
I think it's safe to say at this point in time, Nick, the Taika movie is done, the Ryan trilogy is done, and Rogue Squadron is done. Okay, they're
Rogue Squadron won't happen. Like the Mangold movie maybe. But I mean that's the big thing. It's like content wise, there's not a very clear avenue as to what is coming after Ahsoka season 2. It's kind of wasteland.
It's nothing. It's movies or bust, and I think a lot of that will depend on if Mando and Grogu in 26 actually makes a buck. If that doesn't make a buck, we could be looking at Star Wars being canceled like George did after 2005. So get ready. Bye Star Wars time show.
We'll turn this into a Lord of the Rings podcast.
Well, yeah, is Rings of Power guaranteed for a third season? I know they reduced costs, like they stopped shooting in New Zealand like Peter did, and they moved it to the UK, but...
Yeah, and I mean... I don't know.
Hopefully
if
not.
Season
Hopefully
3
we're getting one, because
I think the plan was to have it be 5 seasons.
I'm pretty sure it was 8.
8? Well, we'll see.
You never know.
I mean,
remember that John Favreau said that about The Mandalorian too, and they're done after 3.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of these things were like you're functioning off of COVID numbers, and then COVID ended and people were able to go out and do things in public again, and streaming numbers have dropped. So
yay, COVID. I miss those days. All right, my friend, it is time to transition into the meat of SWTS E329, and that is our tier ranking of the 25 best droids in Star Wars film, TV, comics, and games. Before all you get all your panties in a bunch, at one point in time, this list was at 38. I tried to account for every fucking standout droid, even if it didn't talk. Knowing how young Nick is, and I used some of his tempering powers, and I tempered the list. I cut it down to 25, and I promised him, because it's droids, it should be fairly quick. Some of these, it's like, yeah, we love the way it looked. Next. But we settled on 25 droids from, again, across all sorts of different mediums of Star Wars. And I really do think these are the heavy hitters here. I know Nick's probably going to struggle on 1 or 2 of them. That's all right. I'll tee him up for him. But this is how we do it. We've been doing tier rankings for, a good part of this post-Acolyte season. We do it on Tier Maker. You can always get involved. We send out the fan poll typically 24 hours before we go live. Not a lot of action on the fan poll this time, but we will most definitely compare our results at the end. So we got S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and then just a rusty bucket of bolts. Okay? All right, here we go. Starting off with a comic hero that I would love to see in live action. He got himself a sweet-looking exclusive hot toy over the summer. He is not like C-3PO, but he is much more murderous, torturous, and disturbed. We're talking about one of Dr. Aphra's buddies, 000, 000, 000. Nick, he's got those red eyes, the C-3PO protocol droid look, but he is literally a 180. They are as far apart as can possibly be. This dude's got a pizza cutter on his hands, knives on his hands. He is evil, and he loves to torture. Just like C-3PO, he also has his little astromech companion that we will too be ranking. But I don't know if you know a ton about 000 outside of shit you might have picked up from comics or my dumbass talking about him, but because he still has the politeness of a protocol droid, but he is a insane, torturing, lunatic murderer, he is such a fun contrast to C-3PO that he is hard not to be like, you know what, I kind of like this psycho bot.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him. Obviously, most of what I do know about him is from your comic reviews and the runs that were happening with Dr. Aphra earlier in the Marvel Comics run for Star Wars. My initial thought was probably like A or B tier, because he seems like he has a strong personality. He's very different than C-3PO. So that was kind of my initial was like maybe low A, high B, but I will defer to you primarily for this one.
Yeah, the way I kind of thought about how we would rank these, it's not necessarily their impact on the galaxy, or if they had an emotional ending, or if they were an emotional droid in particular. It's just, did this droid stand out? Was it a droid when you were watching something, you're like, oh, hey, I remember them? Or and 000 he's, even for not making a mainstream medium like film or TV, he's got action figures made of him. He's got hot toy collectibles made of him, which means he's got a grasp on the fandom. So, Nick, I would not even mention A for him. To me, he's probably more of a BC. But the fact that a purely comic book created character has now been immortalized in plastic, that's pretty big. So I think 000 at least earns a B tier.
There we go. Yeah, I agree.
All right, this guy's been popping up on a lot of our tier ranks because he's been involved in important moments, important deaths, battles, top characters, heroes. Of course, we're talking about the droid that literally started it all by saving Padme Amidala as she tried to break free of the Trade Federation blockade. His accomplishments would take us the next 3 hours to recite if we went through every single one. He is one of the biggest heroes of not only the Clone Wars, but the rise of the Empire, the rebellion, and also the sequel trilogy. He never loses. And of course, we're talking about the motherfucker that tricked Luke to take off his restraining bolt way back in A New Hope, our friend R2-D2.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's unquestionably S tier. Like, he was the droid that saved everybody's life. He helped save, Anakin and Obi-Wan multiple times in the prequel trilogy. He was always there when Luke needed him, even when they were raiding Bespin and Luke was trying to be stealthy. R2 was still there. He truly is the lens with which through which everything is seen, more than likely. So I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, by the way, he's also our storyteller for episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, so I think that he is a safe S tier.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you could probably go up to just a reg and be like, yo, Star Wars droid, favorite Star Wars droid. R2-D2 is probably going to be the main response from most people. So yeah, this is easy. R2, our first S tier candidate. Yeah, he is 100%. The man. You got to love him. You got to feel for him, especially the way Goldenrod treats him. A very abusive relationship, when it should be vice versa. I mean, without R2, C-3PO would have never known that he was naked. He would be dead on Geonosis. So
he would 100% be dead on Geonosis.
Let's go. All right, Nick, this next one, it's been some time since you probably interacted with him or even thought about this droid, but I was glad that I kind of did a little research to remind myself, because there are a few droids you may have forgot about that you really kind of keyed into, or they might have stood out in the medium that you first met them in. And I'm talking about Proxy. And for those of you that don't understand or remember who Proxy is the droid that Lord Vader specifically made for Starkiller in The Force Unleashed to train him and try to kill him. And Proxy was such an interesting droid, Nick, that he could actually take on the form and function of Starkiller's targets, right? Like he could become the Jedi he was going to fight. He could become, I remember he's like that little Praxis fucker on the trash planet that was a real dick to fight on the hardest difficulty.
Ram Kota.
Yeah, there you go.
General Ram Kota.
But Proxy, he was kind of like the in-between mission droid that you always had to meet with Proxy and in practice. He would change forms and whatnot. It's been so long since I've beaten Force Unleashed, I can't remember Proxy's fate, and if he ever does kind of break Vader's programming to help Starkiller, I'm assuming he does, but don't quote me on that. But he was a very interesting and unique type of droid in that he could kind of morph into people as a droid, not only their look, but he could also essentially mimic their skills in combat.
Yeah, no fucking clue. Like, honestly, I played both of those games. I forgot this guy existed. He sounds cool from everything you said, so I'll say he's B tier.
All right. I don't think he goes to A just because he is. I believe he was just in the first one, and it is a droid that once I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, fuck Proxy. I can't believe I forgot about him. But the fact that we forgot about him, yeah, you're probably looking at a B at best for Proxy.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, B-Mat. He transforms into Darth Maul. He's a really, badass type of droid. He came from Darth Vader. I mean, fucking Darth Vader made him, who also made C-3PO. So bada bing, bada boom. All right, Proxy goes to B tier. I got no problem with that. This next droid, I'm not going to lie, I knew about him from the Clone Wars, appreciated him in the Clone Wars, really enjoyed that little string of episodes where he takes some younglings to Ilum to form their lightsabers. But I feel like we really got to know this droid last year, right about this time, when Ahsoka Season 1 was playing out on Disney+. And I'm, of course, talking about Ahsoka's traveling companion, Huyang. Yeah. Nick, I really think he was a shining light in the Ahsoka series. He had some great lines. He brought in a little bit of levity and some comedy in a rather dark-toned type of series. He unlike even C-3PO or R2-D2, almost more like K2SO, he felt like a person. He felt like he could almost care about people. He was tough on Sabine, right? I mean, he wasn't letting her pull any bullshit on him. But we saw him when he thought Ahsoka and Sabine were gone, how that affected him. He was just sitting there like a human, like, fuck, they're gone, or she's gone. I can't believe it. So like I said, I really think Huyang kind of made a case for himself in the Ahsoka series over what he did in Clone Wars. But we also know that he's been around essentially since the dawn of the Jedi, training them, recording their, how they fight, recording their history. He's quite a power player, has quite a lifespan, probably the oldest droid on this list. So for all that has been laid upon you, my friend, where are you putting our buddy Huyang?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he is probably, for me, he's between A and S tier. Yeah. He's responsible for, even though, we didn't spend a ton of time with him in actual content, but, he's responsible for training basically, every youngling that comes through the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
He has a huge impact on the Jedi Order overall and those that come through it. Obviously, a very close friend of Ahsoka's, and accompanies her on her journey to Peridia. I'm leaning A tier more than S, but still pretty high up there.
Yeah, you know what? I think for how excellent he was in Ahsoka, and if you just consider the sheer amount of accomplishments, for lack of a better word, that he has had with the Jedi Order for 25,000 years. I mean, think about it, 25,000 years. How many thousands and thousands and thousands of Jedi did this droid have a direct impact on? He trained, and like Nick said, every fucking Padawan that went through that temple crossed paths with Huyang at some point in time. And he memorized everything about every one of them. He knows their blades. I mean, we saw it in Ahsoka. He looked at Balin's blades like, oh shit, that's Balin's skull. I mean, it's amazing the amount of knowledge this droid has. So, you know what, Nick? I think because you split him S and A, I'm going to go ahead and give him S tier. He's going up with our buddy R2. I like that.
No issues with me there.
He is a real OG. He's earned it. He is a real OG, like Divided's saying, 100%. All right, this next one I know is going to just go nowhere with you, and that's my bad. I should have sent you a clip because AP5 is who I'm talking about. He's a Death Star droid that is reformed in Star Wars Rebels and ends up kind of hanging out with Chopper, and the two together make quite the pair because AP5 is just as curmudgeonly and grumpy as Chopper, except he's bipedal. You know, he's an RA-7 droid. Like, he looks like a Death Star droid. He had some really great moments throughout Rebels. The one I just watched is when he's like floating out in space and he's like, oh, my life is coming. Like, he's really having a moment, Nick. And then the Ghost picks him up by just like running into him and scooping them up into the bay. I know you do not remember him at all, but I can tell you, in my searches, he was on pretty much every list, and as I looked at a few clips, I was reminded of AP5, and he was a pretty fun droid character in Rebels. But mind you, I had to be reminded of that, so yeah. I think that does go against him a little bit.
I have no context. I don't remember a single scene of this dude, so you can just drop him where you think he is appropriate.
Right. Well, that helps. Like, I mean, like I said, the droid thing is different than a lot of our other lists. The fact that a fan doesn't even remember him, you know, you're probably C tier AP5. Yeah. So yeah. I don't think he's a rusty bucket of bolts, but yeah, he does not stand out.
Like, there are a lot of droids on here that I'm like, who the fuck is this? There's quite a few, and like, there's a lot of characters in Star Wars, and like, it's hard to keep track of them all. So there will probably be multiple times on here where I'm like, I just don't know.
He taps out. He leaves it up to the expert. We have no problem with that. So AP, you're going C tier. You are not just a rusty bucket of bolts. All right, another one. And this is one where, like I said, the criteria for droid ranking it's all over the place. Because this guy we're going to talk about was in like a 1 second scene initially in Return of the Jedi. 8D8. He was the white robot that has like an old man looking like island statue face. And he's the guy pulling down the hot pokers to put on a poor gonk droid's feet. Mm-hmm. That alone, like, that droid has always stood out to me because of that scene. So 8D8 gets some street cred just from that. But if you remember, young Nick, he actually plays a role in the Book of Boba Fett. He becomes more or less the herald of Fortuna, and then keeps the same role for Boba. Like, he's the guy that announces guests to the Book of Boba Fett. So 8D8 went from being a literal torture of droids to his reformed self of a herald of Boba's court. And he's always been a droid that has just looked really cool. I've always loved his design. He looked like a human skeleton, essentially, and that's why he always kind of stood out to me as a kid. So, do you remember 8D8 at all, Nick? The guy burning gonk droids?
I remember the scene. Don't remember him in Book of Boba Fett. It was pretty fucked up that he's torturing his own kind.
Right.
So I am leaning towards putting him in like C or just a rusty bucket of bolts because, hey, why are you torturing somebody else? I know that
he was working for Jabba. That's what he was told to do.
Yeah, he was programmed to do it. I mean, he looks cool from what I can see. So maybe C tier because he stopped torturing droids and started announcing people. That's as much input as I got on this one. He is so small in this universe that like I just don't have too much on him.
Yeah, so I mean, as much as I like his build and his shape, I get you. I agree with you. I'm surprised you forget him from the Book of Boba Fett, but again, you're not as insane as I am and don't watch these shows 55 times when they come out. But yeah, I think I'm not putting 8D8 down in the bucket of bolts, but he can hang out with AP5 and C tier for sure. For sure. All right, this next one, hopefully you remember because it's only been about a year, maybe 2 years and a half. And we do think that there's going to be more for this droid potentially as he transforms into K2SO, but I'm talking about the family droid of Cassian and Marva Andor, B2 emo or B2.
Yeah.
He just, he had that. He was so sweet. He needed the charge. He would try to lie for his masters, and he was always like, "Oh, Cassian." And he just had like this different type of voice. He really felt like he had a personality over traditional astromechs, which are usually just beeping and booping at you. He was even involved in the Battle of Ferrix. He's the reason why things got nuts, right? Then he get pushed over or something by the Imperials. And we do think that B2 is going to have a second life in K2's cranium. But in terms of a tier, I don't know. Like he stood out in Andor, but how far does that kind of reach? I mean, I know the fact that you and I were kind of speculating that he'd become K2, he clearly had a personality that we picked up on and noticed was different than most droids. So I'll be interested to hear what you say about this guy.
Yeah, my initial thought was B tier here. He's definitely annoying. Like he seemed like he annoyed both Marva and Cassian. Very childlike in terms of intelligence for a droid, which obviously is very different than other droids that we've seen in Star Wars thus far.
Sweet.
He was very like concerned about Marva all the time, always talking to Cassian about Marva. In terms of his like obviously we don't know if he's going to be incorporated in K2. It seems narratively that he will. But for what we've gotten from him so far, I think he fits best into B tier. I think that he has the potential to become A tier if there is some more content around him in Andor season 2 and seeing what his ultimate fate is. But I think for right now, he is probably B.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Divided reminding everyone that he also would get glitchy sometimes and be mad like Marva, and he'd be like, "Hey, B, you need to charge up there, pal. Go plug yourself in." So I do like him, but I think you're spot on. He can get himself into B at this point in time, but I do not think his story is over yet. I really don't. It would just be, I would be surprised if Lord Gilroy passes up that opportunity to kind of make the connection most fans made watching Andor season 1 between B2 and K2. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think it's definitely, I mean, it's highly likely that it's going to happen. It just comes down to if Tony
wants to succumb to fan service
to do that. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Knowing Tony, he probably read enough on the forums. He'll just opening scene of Andor season 2 will be Cassian exploding B2 for no reason. Be like, "Fuck you, bitch," and just blow him up.
Annihilated.
All right. Well, here he is. We already talked about his little traveling partner. This is one of the most abusive droids in all of Star Wars. He is someone that, if there was therapy for astromechs, R2 would definitely be in it because of this guy. He just was not nice to R2 in particular, and usually is kind of short with other droids. He's definitely the most pimped out looking droid we've seen, thanks to the golden plating he eventually gets in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. We know he can speak over 6 million forms of language. He's good at calculating odds, even if they're not the best and people don't want to hear about it. He's hard not to think about when you say Star Wars droid. Of course, we're talking about Goldenrod, the Professor, aka C-3PO.
Yeah, I think that, and people are gonna get who knows. I think he's A tier. I don't think he's S tier because I don't think he's that helpful. Like, I think that he's
definitely not helpful.
Yeah, like he was designed for a very specific purpose, right? He's a protocol droid. Like, maybe he could have been able to do stuff with the moisture evaporators, but maybe he also oversold himself to Uncle Ben, or he
did grow up on that farm, so he better know how to work those fucking moisture evaporators.
What I think is that he may have tricked Owen a bit. He may have tricked Owen a bit. I don't know how much work he actually did out there. I think that Beru...
He would probably just sit there and talk to the evaporators and not actually tell them to fix themselves.
Exactly. I think that him and Beru probably got along more because he can, like, he would help her around
gossip.
The house a little bit.
He's in there gossiping.
Yeah. But in terms of, like, his overall helpfulness and his ability to actually be a boon to the people he's around, I don't think that he's that good at it. I think that he's more of a hindrance than he is a help. And the reason that I put him in A tier is just because he's been around so long and he always is just a part of the group. Like, just think about the time in ESB when the Falcon is like...
Bro, they had to turn him off.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to fix the Falcon, and he is completely useless.
They turn him off. I mean, Han's like, shut that fucking guy down.
So, just out of pure respect for the fact that he's been around for so long and that he's...
I'm melting. You gotta love him, though. That's my point. I'm with you 100%. Yeah. He's zero help. But my point is, with these droids, sometimes they have other angles to excellence, and he just, like, you gotta love how ineffectual he is. He's just he's a big scaredy cat.
He really is. And because of that, I put him in A tier, but that is what keeps him out of S tier.
All right, well, Ben's bringing up a good point. If it ain't for C-3PO, they fail in Tross. I mean, he is the key
to
learning the secret of the Sith dagger.
They fully reboot him.
He's not even C-3PO at that point.
He's not even 3PO at that point. He's like, my best friend is Babu Frick, and I've known him for 8 minutes. Like,
so he's still a dick and doesn't remember those that he has been with the most. Yeah, listen, and I'm not going to lie, like C-3PO, when he showed up in Mandalorian Season 3, he still kind of made my Star Wars fanboy heart flutter a bit. Like, I just feel that way when I see my characters show up these days. Same thing when Luke and R2 showed up in S2E8, but I agree with all of you. I'm not, B-Mad wants him in C. I can't do that to Goldenrod. He too many memories. We're sitting there quoting the motherfucker, so he imprints on Star Wars fans' brains. So I'm with you. He is at least A tier for the bitchiness and the, really just being a non-contributor, though. I'm all right keeping him in A versus S.
Yeah.
Okay. This one I think is a very easy one. I, like Spencer, am very fond of this next astromech. I thought he's absolutely hilarious, both in animated form, even more so in live action form. I mean, he was literally saying the F word in the Ahsoka series, talking about just dropping explosives on a populated part of Corellia. He can never put down that dark, edgy side of murdering everything in his purview. We are, of course, talking about the dude with 2 little arms that can come out of his head, Chopper.
I mean, I think that Chopper is S tier.
Of course.
I think that he's earned that over the time that he spent with Phoenix Squadron, and he probably was like the droid with the most personality at that point.
That
when
couldn't
he was
talk.
First introduced.
You can understand him. Like Dave makes it like.
Like he was super. Like he was super emotive, even with his little arms.
Dude.
Like he was probably the best droid outside of R2-D2 until some of the other ones were introduced.
Bro, he's got like a go-kart tire for his third leg. Like he doesn't even have a real third leg like R2.
So yeah, I think Chopper has earned S tier for all that he's gone through.
He is probably the most evil droid that's not a bad guy, but he's probably has contributed to some of the more funny moments for a non-speaking character.
That's true.
Like a non-binary. Oh, no, he speaks binary. A non-basic character, whatever you want to say. Yeah, man. I mean, S tier, please. I love Chopper.
Yes, 100%.
I love him so much. I don't necessarily buy 1/6 scale droids. I got a 1/6 scale Chopper on pre-order, 100%.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, S-based just on body count. That is correct. He loves the murder, even if it's good guys. He does not care. Innocent, good or bad, Chopper will take you out. All right, Nick, I know you're probably going to make fun of me on this one, but I got a soft spot for these motherfuckers. You know, from the moment we saw them at the beginning of The Phantom Menace and hearing them talk and the Roger and all the stupid shit George made them do in the hangar where they're like playing jokes like, wait a minute. Just the fact they talk the way they do. And really, my fondness for B1s really comes from the droid Roger from Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures. It's literally his name is Roger. We all get it. But there's just something about B1s that it's hard to forget about them. And they're so prevalent in the prequels. They're the main force for the Separatists. But just the way they are, how ineffective they are, how badly programmed they are, the fact that they do kind of start to develop personalities and they'll blame their other droids. You've got the commander level, then your basic grunt B1s. And you know, the design George picked for them is very interesting. They've got like these long anteater type heads and humanoid looking bodies. I know they're a dime a dozen and, you know, billions of them were shot up and they're somewhat ineffective, not as ineffective as stormtroopers, but I don't know, man. Something just stands out about the B1s, love them or hate them.
Yeah, I think that B1s for me, I mean, they're obviously fun, hilarious. They're whenever they're on the screen, especially post episode 1, like episode 1, they didn't really dial in, or George didn't really dial in their personality yet. Like,
right.
But in episode 2 forward into Clone Wars and everywhere else that you see them, like they always are there as kind of the comic relief. So because they are such a big part of the galaxy and because they are entertaining, more so than they are effective at combat, I think that they belong in B tier as their name would suggest.
All right. I can get behind that. I like that. B1's in the B tier. No problem. Well, you know, sticking with battle droids, we've got the Droideka. I didn't include B2s because they're just the, you know, second gen of B1s. Droideka is fundamentally different. I also did not include Magna Guards or the BX Commando droids because we have a specific BX to talk about coming up from Star Wars Outlaws. But Droidekas, again, very formidable droids, so much so that 2 Jedis were scared of them. Like, literally, Master Droidekas! And, you know, they defended for a little bit, then they had to get the hell out of Dodge. They were quite the war machine. They you know, rolling around as balls, and they pop up, they get the ray shields going, they got the double blasters, they sound cool, you know, that... I bet everyone right now, if you just think about it for a little bit, you can hear them rolling in your head, and then you can hear their laser blast because it's a very specific sound coming from Droidekas. I don't know. They're cool. The fucking ball droid. All right. They're cool. I'm not saying they're SA, but I don't think they're just rusty bucket of bolts. What say you? Yeah,
I am a big fan of the Droidekas. I like playing them in the Battlefront games whenever you unlock enough points to like play a special character. I think they're pretty fun to play as well. They're really different in terms of droid design. I don't think that there's really any other droid that's like them. Like you've seen a lot of like astromech variants. You've seen a lot of even like B1 variants with the assassin droids and things like that. And the Droideka design is super cool. Their combat effectiveness is super high because they have a shield generator on them. Like you said, like they give even Jedi problems, like high tier Jedi. So I would say that Droidekas are probably A tier, just because like they are the full package. Like if I am ordering a droid for combat effectiveness, I'm like, don't give me B1s, B2s, don't give me, you know, astromechs, anything. Like, give me a fucking Droideka. Give me a Droideka.
I would love to have one of those for home security. It just like rolls out a fucking hatch in my door, unfolds, and suck it, bad guys. Yeah, Nick, you know what? Divided's kind of agreeing with you down there in the chat. She said, I put them above B1s, and it sounds like Nick is doing the same thing. And you know what? I cannot disagree. They also have a really great looking action figure that released this year. So that's an added bonus there at the end. So Droideka's going A tier.
A
Master,
tier.
destroy us. All right, so if you're just tuning in here on the live stream, we are tier ranking the top 25 droids of Star Wars. So far, we have not thrown any of them into the rusty bucket of bolts tier. Okay, here we go. Yet. All right, well, Nick, I kind of threw this guy in for you, and so hopefully you do remember him, because I think you probably have more experience with this next droid than most of us, because you are a self-reported Disney fanboy. You've been going there for a majority of your life. You guys vacation there at least 1 week a year, every single year. This droid has changed roles. He used to kind of captain the Star Tours capsules. But since the arrival of Galaxy's Edge, he crash landed on Batuu and was reformatted into the DJ at Olga's Cantina, and he has been rebranded as R3X Rex, the DJ bot. He's lived many lives. He's been working hard in the real world, Nick. What do you say about this little guy? I mean, do you have any fond memories of him from your trips to Disney? Because that's kind of where he lives. Yeah. I mean, this one definitely is one of the ones that I remember most because of my connection through Disney. I mean, when we went to Disney earlier this year in January, we stopped into Olga's Cantina and he was DJing it up. And then obviously from the Star Tours ride as well. He's a fun droid. It's always cool to have him, his voice, the way that they programmed it's really fun. He is an incompetent pilot for sure. For those of you who have ridden the Star Tours ride in Disney, but he's a great DJ. So I don't know. This one's really hard to rank. He too has an action figure, Nick. Oh, he does. Of course he does. Of course he does. He's hard to rank for me, right? It's hard to figure out where he falls. Yeah, Bat was saying, was he voiced by Pee-wee initially? Paul Herman or whatever his name was? I have no idea if that's true. Maybe so. And if it was, it wouldn't surprise me. He had a very high-pitched voice. I know that... I know you are, but what am I? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to rank him. Maybe B or C tier, because he doesn't really do much. He's a shitty pilot. He always gets you into some dangerous situation when you're flying through Star Tours. He's never, and he admits to you, he's this is my first flight. That was one of the lines that he used to have in Star Tours. So I don't know. B or C tier is kind of where I'm feeling. Yeah, see, this is the one time where you're going to have more of the connection and knowledge than me. So the fact that you threw out C, I think we're going to put him C. Yeah, he just, if he was a better Star Tours pilot, you would not have crashed as many times as you did. That's right. What a dick. But hey, maybe you wouldn't have had as much fun. You must have a drinking problem. Yeah. All right. Next one here. This is definitely, I know this is going to be who the fuck is this? But it was another droid that always stood out to me as a little kid, and he too had second life in the Mandoverse era. We were talking about, I think it's EV9D9. Yeah. So in Return of the Jedi, he really is he's running the droid torture department. He's the guy that they talk to when the Gamorrean brings down C-3PO and R2 to get their new jobs assigned to them. He's the one that shows, oh yeah, see that guy, he was Jabba's last droid interpreter, and he's literally getting his arms and legs ripped off. And then you also get to see the Gonk about to get his feet burned. But what I really liked about EV, Nick, is that they gave him a little fucking mouth. So he's got this long, almost xenomorph type of head, but then every time he talks, he's got this little fucking mouthpiece that moves, and that always kind of stood out to me as a kid. But he then showed up in The Mandalorian. He became, after this role, probably when Jabba died, he became the bartender at Chalum's Cantina. So had a second life like 8D8, but he decided to leave the palace versus keeping his services at Jabba's castle. I mean, just one of the cooler looking droids, memorable because of his little flippy mouth and the fact that he is essentially killing his own kind, torturing his own kind for Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, I think that this guy, again, he's a torturer, or he was a torturer, but then again, droids don't really make their own decisions on what their programming is.
He was way more memorable. I definitely remember him. You know, the lines that he speaks to C-3PO and R2-D2 are definitely memorable. I don't know.
He has a sweet voice too, like that really.
He does have
modulate, like blah, blah, you know, like blah, 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 blah. It's definitely not like that. He's got like a
modulated
there you go.
British accent. I'm leaning towards B tier for him because he clearly was effective enough to work his way up in the organization to be the head torturer or the lead of the torturers. And then you know what? He reformed himself. He is now the cantina
slinging
bar
spotchka.
droid, as you said. So maybe B tier for.
I'll take it. I mean, the fact that you even had memories on this one is huge for EV. So yeah, I agree. They can go to B tier. All right, this next one, it's hard not to like this droid. There's a ton of them. Nick, I debated on picking Gonky because it was very specific. Gonk droid, it had a name. It was the droid of the Bad Batch. But I was like, you know what, fuck it. We're just going to settle on the Gonks. The Gonky. You're first exposed to him on the Jawa Sandcrawler in A New Hope. It's literally a small person or a short person shoved into a fucking trash can and their feet hang out. I mean,
I would say that you can literally just see their legs.
You gotta love the design and the fact that they literally say gonky gonk 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 as they're walking. It's just like, how can you not love gonk droids?
Yeah, I mean they're awesome to look at. They're funny. Like you said, you can just tell that it's a person walking in a trash can. Their usefulness is negative.
They're supposed to be like big fucking batteries, essentially. Yeah, that's what they are. They're like walking power cells.
They're a walking power station. Yeah. I don't know. It's so hard to figure out where to rank these things. Where to rank this motherfucker. I don't know. Maybe they're B tier because they do have a purpose, and they're B tier, man.
It's a fucking person in a trash can pretending to be a power cell. You gotta love that. You gotta love that George was like, "Fuck yeah, that's a droid right there." Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I'm with you, dude. B 100%. Gonk droids are the shit.
They're pretty fun. They're funny if nothing else. And hey, if you're standing by one, you can charge your phone.
Yeah, so, and they're all over in Star Wars Outlaws. Like they're all over the environment in Outlaws.
It's absolutely amazing to me that Star Wars or Lucasfilm has not made a Gonk droid power like a power brick or something.
Yeah, like a power brick.
Yeah.
Or hell, even like a fucking generator for your house. You know what I mean? Like one of those big ass batteries. Oh man, I do love a Gonky. I remember my Kenner Gonky figure. He's got little legs would come out. He's like blue. They're awesome. All right, man. Nice. Now this comes from a game, right? Okay, yep. So you know who we're talking about. You're at least aware of this guy. 'Cause I didn't know. I mean, I know it's been a while since we've played KOTOR. I just, I remember he loves using the meat bag line. But from what I remember, the HK-47, Nick, was a Sith assassin droid, right? Or no?
Yes.
So this droid line built by the Sith to essentially be murder bots, and that's all they care about. If you remember HK-47 from KOTOR, he can join your party. He really is not a friend or a fan of anyone in the party. All he wants to do is shoot or harm meat bags. I remember him being the first, like, almost not, I don't want to say evil feeling droid, but you were like, holy shit, like,
it's like this dude.
Yeah, like HK, psycho. Man, chill out. Like, we'll go kill someone in a second. Like, his full focus was on murder, right? So,
yeah.
And just everyone, the meat bag line, I think, has stuck with everyone ever since they played it and heard him utter it. So, what do you say about our buddy HK-47?
I love HK-47 in KOTOR, obviously, but then also in Star Wars: The Old Republic. You actually get to fight against him in a dungeon, and he's a part of the first Revan dungeon. The fight was really fun. His personality was, as it was always, just hilariously murderous. And then also later in the game, they have or they introduce HK-74 droids, which you can have as a personal companion along with you in your travels throughout the galaxy. For me, HK is A tier. He is an elite assassin, and he's funny, and he's got witty lines all over the place. He's always down for a fight, and he has the skills to back it up. So I think that I would put him in A tier.
Yeah, I'm not going to discount that, but I do want to update our listeners and you on some information we've been getting. Bat did confirm Paul Rubens did voice Rex in 1987.
There we go.
And what else we got here? And Bat is saying on Bat 2, apparently there's a Gonk droid charging station. So
yeah, it's probably. I haven't seen it, but it might be like tucked away somewhere that I just didn't.
We'll task you with finding it this November.
Or I saw it and I was like, "Oh, look, cool, a Gonk droid," and I didn't know you could actually use it to charge.
Into it. You guys doing the November shit this year or no?
No. We will not be going.
Too many trips to Hawaii and foreign countries over the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, good deal. All right, yeah, man, I'm with you. HK, strong A tier. I agree. Definitely gets up there. Well, it's our next one, kind of another murderous type of bot. I opted to go with the lower numbered IG just because there's more screen time, more character, more experience. I know IG-88 is pretty famous in the comics, but comics are comics. So we're talking about IG-11, not 12. We were talking about the one that Din first meets. They go and just waylace to that, thug hangout. He's about to quit. That was one of my favorite moments when he feels like they're going to lose and he might get captured. He's like, well, you know what? Can't let this happen. Can't let these dickheads get my programming or my creators would be pissed. I'm going to blow us up. Din talks him out of it. He wants to kill Grogu. Din blows his brains out. And then we come to find out that Kuiil actually reprograms him into a nursing droid. And we talked about his heroic moment, his heroic death. No one, I would think, is ever going to forget the moment where he rolls up on these scout troopers that are torturing poor Grogu and just absolutely levels them both, straps Grogu to his front, and then rides into town, guns a-blazing. Grogu's just sitting there like, woohoo! And he just rolls in, ditches the speeder, spins around, blows away a bunch of troopers, allows Din and Cara and them to kind of get a moment, a break as they're being held in the bar. And then obviously the sacrificial moment and the reincarnation of IG-12. I mean, they immortalized him, Nick, on Navarro with a statue before Din needed his part. So great voice work by Taika. A memorable IG-80, a memorable IG model to say the least.
Yeah, I'm struggling between
Give him
A
S
and
for
S
sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm kind of between A and S tier for IG because his run was short lived, right? Like obviously he has like a second life as
one season.
Grogu's little suit. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm between A and S tier, so I'll defer to you for further
it's just like just now thinking about that scene in Mando S1E8 where he gets Grogu, gets on the speeder, and then just blows through town. Like the stormtroopers, before they can even see what just blew by him, they're falling over from his gunshots. He's just spinning his body left and right. And that little green thing is just in there having the time of his life, not realizing that he could get shot at any moment and his head would turn into green goo. So yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I think he is S tier. That sacrifice, the rebranding as a nurse droid, his reincarnation of IG-12, just too many cool moments in the Mandoverse era. I'm with you and some of the people in the chat. S for sacrifice. I love that. B-Mad. Perfect. Well, speaking of another droid that had a memorable sacrifice, we're going to move into one of those, I think their official names are like KX security droids that the Empire had, K2SO. All right, we're going to learn more about them. But even with what we know, he's a pretty strong droid. He's a memorable droid. Most Star Wars fans worth their salt will know about K2SO and his heroic sacrifice on Scarif to allow Jyn and Cassian to make the final leg of their mission to grab the data disk for the Death Star plans. He's funny. One of our first introductions to him is him clotheslining Jyn Erso and essentially saying, you're welcome.
Here to help you.
Right, yeah. You're welcome for us rescuing you and me beating the shit out of you. He kind of doesn't like her for a good part of the movie, and he makes it clear. He doesn't really hide that when he's talking to Cassian or Jyn. But then, like I said, he has that epic sacrifice on Scarif, and we've just talked about him in our most important deaths or memorable deaths, and it's a hard one watching him die, because it's a slow death, and his voice starts to go, his motors are farting out, and it's pretty tragic to watch that non-organic sacrifice himself for organics. So what do you think about K2?
Yeah, I think that K2 is S tier. We are likely going to have a little bit more time with him in Andor season 2.
That's guaranteed.
So, we'll get more time with him. The only thing that really kind of knocks him is that we don't have a lot of exposure to him, but his exposure is very impactful. Not just his death scene, like you mentioned, but like every step along the way, he is a useful companion to the crew of Rogue One as they become known. I'm leaning more towards S tier because those final moments were so impactful and so important and enabled Cassian and Jyn to successfully get the plans without being killed prior. So yeah, I think that he's S tier for me.
Hey, you don't have to convince me too much. He's definitely S tier. And we're even gonna take out some alone on K2, because I'm telling you right now, he is probably gonna be the main thread of one of the 3-block year-long explorations in Andor season 2. I think
I would assume
we'll get that. We'll get the genesis of him, and then he will just become a part of the show after that. So yeah, he's S tier, Hundy. All right, this one I know Nick is going to hate him. Nick's only played the one game, didn't try to take him for a spin in Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor. We're talking about little BD1. We've seen other models of the BD pop up in the Mandoverse, hanging out at Peli Moto's droid sanctuary. But he's kind of a cool looking droid. I mean, almost looks like a chicken, He's got those little legs, the way he walks around. He can latch on the cow's back. He's very functional. He's essentially a living Swiss Army knife tool. He can play recordings. He can unlock doors. He can get into spaces that, cow or organics can't necessarily get to. He's not much of a talker, right? He's kind of like an R2, just maybe some binary beeps here or there. But, like I said, very eye-catching design when we first saw him. And he does almost feel like one of these Star Wars droids that could also serve as a pet. So I know you're not too fond on the franchise. We both think Cal Kestis is a milquetoast motherfucker. But do you have any thoughts on BD1? Did he leave any impressions on you when you played the original game many years ago?
I mean, he was a cute droid. He was very useful. I mean, my initial leaning is B tier because he is a helpful companion to have. The personality seemed pretty cool from the first game, and I'm sure that he had a little, bit more personality in the second one. I lean B tier. He's like a very good personal droid.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's probably in between B and C. I don't think he remotely sniffs A. He's definitely a BC type of a candidate. I just think for his design alone and his function, I'm with you. I think we can kind of keep him in B. Not much left to be said for that little guy. Mm-hmm. All right, this next one could cause a fight. We're talking about a droid that literally doesn't do jack shit, but it shows up in every era of Star Wars, and it's always in like in a funny scene or a silly type of scene. And we're talking about mouse droids, all right? They look like little remote control cars. We're gonna get a first-person view of a mouse droid in the Mandalorian Grogu movie, as revealed in that stinger we get. But Nick, it's another droid where if you're a lifelong Star Wars fan and someone says mouse droid, you're probably going to smile. You're going to know exactly what they're talking about. You're going to hear them in your head like the like they literally like would hum to themselves as they're moving. It's like beep 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 beep. Remember then it sees Chewbacca and it's like wee wee and like runs away. Yep. I mean they're fucking mouse droids. They're awesome. They're cute as a button. The sounds they make are so indicative of the situation they're in. Like they don't try to hide their fear or what they're doing. If you remember Mandalorian season 8, a bunch of them teamed together and were like circling R5 and trying to prevent him from accomplishing his mission for Din. I just think these little things are charming as fuck, even though they predominantly serve the Empire.
I like them. They're obviously like super cute, funny little droids. The only thing is like, what do they actually do? Are they like cleaner droids? Are they just like, do they just roll around and like check shit out? Are they like little like spy camera droids to make sure that everything is okay?
You're on to something. I think, they might serve in a janitorial aspect, but I also think you can use them for ears and eyes, send them into a room, a conference room, whatever.
You can tap into the camera feed on there and see what's going on if you're being stealthy. The thing is like they have to have some sort of use if they continue to show up basically.
They even have like little doors in the Death Star and the ships. They just pull right in. They're like, all right, just like a mouse hole almost.
So I mean, I gotta like it's so hard. Like I'm between B and C because it's like. They're they're like cute, but they also seem completely useless. It's just so
they're
hard
definitely
to
scared
have
of Wookiees.
They're scared of Wookiees. They aren't very good at like spotting intruders either, because there were clear intruders that they had seen and then they didn't really do anything about it. Like I'm between B and C, and that's kind of where I feel like they fit, but I'll defer to you and see what your thoughts are here.
I was watching the clip. When he does, I mean, he rolls up to Chewbacca. He's like, and Chewbacca goes, blah, and it goes, and just like fucking runs away. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Okay, I've got low IQ when it comes to entertainment, so I fucking love the mouse droid just for that scene alone. That's right, Bat. They do. I think it's in Mandalorian. They've got like little police lights and sirens that go off as well. So they're kind of like little, almost security droids, I guess, like security system droids. I don't know, man. Like, did you settle on a tier? I totally fucking flaked on that.
I said between B and C. Okay. That's kind of where I think that they fall realistically. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, dude, I would almost put him in S tier just because I'm a slapdick and just how silly that scene is when it's literally someone on a remote control driving up to a Wookiee, and for some reason as a little kid that shit just has always stuck out to me.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a memorable. So sound
I'll go B then. I'll go B.
Okay, I can accept that. They got to be around for something. If the Empire has kept them around as long as they have, they got to be useful for something.
Oh man, that fucking scene. All right, this next one, I know you don't have any experience with this character yet, so it's probably going to be a full one on me. And hopefully I don't oversell him for you once you join the adventure in Star Wars Outlaws. But we're talking about a BX Commando droid that kind of got a second life, and his name is ND5. He is the duster / trench coat wearing commando droid that you have seen from Star Wars Outlaws promotions, trailers, or if you've even played the game. If you played the game, then you probably know why he was even considered on this list, because he is a great droid character. He truly becomes a key ally, an asset to K-Vess, And even though their relationship kind of starts, I don't want to say under duress, but he's more or less assigned to Kay as her babysitter, and if she goes off script, he'll kill her. So that's kind of how their relationship starts. But throughout the game, throughout the missions, and some of the speed bumps thrown their way as they're trying to collect a crew to pull off this major heist, they start to learn about each other, and some understandings start to happen between them. And let's just say maybe some feelings start to happen where, Kay starts to care about this droid that was more or less assigned to her to kill her if she doesn't do her job. And ND, even with a restraining bolt that his owner Jalen can control, even he starts to break some of that programming thanks to his relationship with Kay. And ND5 really does become a major part of the Outlaws campaign story. There's some very specific endgame type of stuff that involves him and Kay, and doing this for that, and that for this person. And he just looks like a badass. I mean, a fucking commando droid from the Clone Wars era in a duster with a sidearm. So I love ND5, Nick. I know you have no experience at him outside of maybe seeing him in a trailer or in some promotional material. I think he's probably an A tier just from the game here.
I'll take your word for it, because I don't have much to contribute to this. What I will say is that they don't have like a romantic thing going on.
No,
right?
yeah.
Like
if I fuck that up, my bad. It's not that. It's just they go from being kind of adversaries. Like, again, he's a babysitter for Kay, and he's going to shoot her if she fucks up. So it's almost like her overlord or her big brother, literally like the cameras in the sky, big brother. But through all the trials and tribulations they go through, they form a very strong bond where you have a non-organic caring for an organic and vice versa. So they have like a 180 story. They kind of start as adversaries and end as champions, if you will. Yeah, nice. Handler, something like that, divided. That's what I mean. So he really makes up a part of the emotional side of the Outlaws story. So and he's just fucking cool looking. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll agree with you there on the A tier, and then I'll get back to you in a month and a half.
Yeah, let me know what you think about him. But he's a pretty cool droid. And just you get to hear kind of about the history of the BX Commando droids and how strong they were, and the fact that he's got a gash in him but he's okay, and just the rarity of them and what it may take to keep them running. So a lot of that kind of plays into the story here. He's got a detachable penis. All right, so these next droids, they're kind of like mouse droids. They make funny sounds. They do funny actions. They're more comedy relief. They're always fucking stuff up. I think one of their big moments, not just in Watto's shop when Jar Jar's trying to activate one of them, but at the Boonta Eve race, and I forget the racer, but they're sitting there working on his ship, and one of them gets sucked through the engine and blows it up, and he's just like, my. So we're talking about pit droids. Palimoto's got three of them hanging around.
That was the name. I think that was the name.
Yeah, Ben Quadraneros. There you go. You're right. They're funny ass bipedal droids. They're like a comedy troupe. I mean, in fact, the three that work with Palimoto, they're like the three fucking Stooges. You know what I mean? So pit droids to me have been funny since the prequels. They're just a silly character. They're not really contributing to anything more than maybe fixing shit in a junkyard or destroying pod racers. But they do have their moments. They for droids in Star Wars, they're definitely one of the more comedic presentations.
Yeah, it's hard to rank these, right? Because the only time that we've ever seen them is in like comedic relief fashion, and like they just look completely fucking incompetent. But everybody uses them. Like every racer has pit droids. Like Peli has pit droids. They have to be good at something. So my initial thought was like, well, these are buckets of bolts, right? Like they just fuck off and they're completely useless and they can't do anything. But like they have to have some sort of skill for literally everybody to have them. It's hard to rank. I'll put them in C tier because they're funny, and it seems like they fuck up more than they're
That's
good.
What I mean. Yeah, they're memorable because of their fuck ups.
Yeah. So I'll do that. I'll do C tier.
Yeah, B-Mad's saying, there is a big droid arc in the Clone Wars. I remember that one. It's like 5 episodes long. I do not specifically remember the pit droid's contributions. It's been about, I'd say, 3 years since I've really hunkered down into the Clone Wars there. I mean, listen, I just, we just lost the chat. I don't know what that means.
I've been having issues with that in YouTube all day, but I think the chat's still fine. I think it's just like
the whole chat just closed out, so who knows what's happening here.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep going and they'll pop back up if they
it's
pop
saying
back
it's
up.
connected. All right, it looks like we're still going here. So I have no idea what just happened there. Hopefully you all are okay, but it looks like we're back online. Way to go, Google. But I just you go back to the pod race scene. Is it the pod racer going que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, and they're just like beep 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 beep, and the one gets sucked through, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, I love them. All right, C tier's fine. That's fine.
Works.
Fucking idiots. All right, hey, we're back too. I don't know what happened. I mean, literally, Google just said broken. Is this one of those pages with like the little Lego block on it? But it looks like we're good to go on a refresh, hopefully. All right, we're almost through this, people. We got 4 to go. We're moving right along. We got another astromech coming up. Another, pretty impactful one, Nick, if we really talk about this one and his overall impact on the Skywalker saga. And we're talking about R5-D4, okay? If you think about it, if it's not for R5... Now we know, I think, is it from a certain point of view or something, but I think it's been revealed that R5 purposely blows his motivator because he knows R2 and C-3PO are buddies. Even if that's not true, the fact that he does blow his motor on the Lars farm as he's being purchased, and it does require Owen to buy R2 to keep him and C-3PO together, you could argue that R5 right there essentially saved the galaxy. Okay.
Yeah.
He then goes on to hang out at Challenge Cantina. We then find out that he hangs out at Pelimoto's place in the Mandoverse era, and he becomes Din Djarin's traveling droid in his N1 starfighter. He makes it all the way to Mandalore. He goes and explores the surface of the planet because it's not going to kill him, and he actually helps Din on the base to open all those ray shield doors. So he kind of started as what seemed like a failure astromech, but deep down, if you think about it, R5 is a team player.
He's a literal rusty bucket of bolts.
No, R5, no.
I get that the certain point of view thing is probably like, look, we'll give this completely useless throwaway character some sort of relevance. Or
he has a second life in the Mandoverse.
To be I completely forgot he was in the Mandoverse.
No, he's literally like Din's ship pod, and he sends him down there on Mandalore before he'll even get out. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's a rusty bucket of bolts because that's what he is. Like, he is literally just like a shit droid that got his motivator blown, and then people were like, "Oh, look, this is the funny droid that blew up." And we have the category, so we got to put somebody in it. So that's where I'm putting him.
All right, that's a tough one because he does kind of have second life in Mando. But the fact that...
Is he more useful than literally anybody else on this list?
Left or that's on this? He's definitely more useful than Rex.
Then somebody's got to be in Rusty Bucket of Bolts, and I think that Rex is a little bit more prominent now because of his Disney placement.
His retirement as a fucking DJ.
Hey, dude, that DJ, he's a good DJ too.
Dude, it's going to hurt to put R5 in just a Rusty Bucket.
Really?
Yeah. All right. There you go.
Really?
There you go. He was kind of a hero in The Mandalorian, but I'll acquiesce to you being mean to R5. It's okay. Poor R5. He's going to go blow another fucking motivator now, thanks to young Nick.
Maybe somebody useful will do something after it, like what originally happened.
All right. Next one here. I'm wearing them on my shirt. I kind of wanted to get my R2 Force for Change shirt. Couldn't find it, so I got the BB-8. Not gonna lie, I fell in love with BB-8 hardcore in TFA. I love that little ball droid. I thought he was fantastic. He was. I mean, I bought like a big fucking stuffy BB-8. He's all over the place. I mean, look right here. Still, the little roller ball. You could control it with your phone. I got that just sitting on my desk. I absolutely love this droid. I love the design, the idea of the ball droid. Now, if you think about in TFA, very impactful. We talked about this in Most Impactful Characters. I mean, he transports the map key. He kind of, through this, that, and the other thing, eventually gets Finn and Rey to the Resistance, helps Poe in the battle. He's just the man. I mean, and then sadly, he kind of, in TLJ, he's got the Canto Bite save. He's got the save on the Destroyer when he's riding in like an ATST. But then, like all things in Tross, he just kind of fucking disappears outside a race, smashing him with a tree.
He falls to the wayside a bit.
Yeah, it's just like, I love BB-8 as a character, but like most things sequel trilogy, he ultimately was not fully fleshed out. But that's just the sequel. So what do you think for our first exposure to the ball droid class?
I am leaning towards like low A, high B for him, like a little bit more
cool voice
towards
too,
low
right?
A.
Bill Hader did his voice.
Yeah, I really like the vocalization. I like the style of the droid as well. I think that the rolling ball droid makes so much sense for the Star Wars landscape, especially on a planet like Jakku, where it's a lot of sand, and if you're rolling a regular wheel, like you're just kind of fucked. Like I have no idea how R2 got around the sand dunes of Tatooine with the wheels that he had. I'm leaning towards low A because, like you said, he has some good moments, especially in the first two movies. Like he does get the shitty arc in TLJ with Canto Bite, but I still think that he's done enough to be like a low A tier type of character. Like he's really personable. He has a great personality. The design's awesome. He has some really good moments, like we were mentioning in TFA and TLJ. He kind of, for me, he's like a low A tier.
Well, Bat fucking hates BB-8, Bat, but too bad you don't get the vote in our poll. You had to fill out your own. You could put him in Rusty Bucket. We are not. I'm with Nick.
Bat says that BB-8 was a device to attract kids. I don't know how to say this to you, Bat. That's what every fucking droid is. Like, literally every droid is just a device for kids to be like, Mama, I want a little droid toy.
Something to relate to for the mushy-brained out there.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think BB-8 is S tier, but as a character, especially in TFA, the introduction of the new class of droids, I love the ball mechanic, the voice. I'm with you. He's an A bagger.
Yeah, I think he's earned the A.
Okay. We talked about her during the death one because it was an emotional death, and yes, it is a female bot because that's what she declared herself. We're talking about
she has
L337. There's a good chance Lando Calrissian has actually fucked this bot too, so she's got that going for her. But just a different type of bipedal, not a protocol droid, a unique look. I don't really think we've seen many bots structured the way Leet was. The name Leet is great. The fact that she had this personality, she's fighting in like droid cage matches or reffing them, and then she starts a droid uprising in the middle of the Kessel mission that had nothing to do with the mission. She really, truly was her own thing. She did her own thing. She didn't give a fuck what Lando said or anyone else. She was probably the most sentient of droids we've come across, right, Nick? Like in terms of making her own choices without a meat bag telling her to do something. A tragic death, a heroic resurrection into the Navi computer of the Falcon. That's why I can make the Kessel run so quickly and why it is one of the fastest hunks of junks in the galaxy. So what do you say? What do you say about our buddy Leet?
Yeah, I'm between A and S. I lean towards S because of how well fleshed out that character was. I think Divided just said that.
Yep.
in the chat. Like even like I haven't read the book or listened to the audiobook, but like even in the movie itself, like Lee felt like a organic character. Like she didn't feel like a droid. She didn't act like a droid. She had opinions. She had feelings. She had, a motivation all to her own. And the extended life that she can, continues to have through the Falcon is one of the longest lasting droid relationships that we now have in Star Wars. So for me, I would probably put Leet in S tier because it was the most, like you said, it was the most sentient droid that we've ever seen.
Well, I mean, Divided makes a great point. She kind of is the Millennium Falcon moving forward, right? Yeah. She is the brains of it, and that's mostly what robots are. They're circuitry and code. So I'm with you guys. I do think Leet earns a spot on the S tier right next to K2SO. All right, my friends, we have come to the last droid to tier rank here. It's another one mostly in comics, but has been immortalized in action figure form just because of how standout, radical, some may say. We're talking about BT-1, 000's companion. He is the astromech to 000's protocol. And just like 000, he's insane. I mean, he's essentially a rolling tank. Unlike R2-D2, who wanted tools in his chassis and in his little skull, BT wanted nothing but laser guns, turrets, missile launchers, grenade launchers, flamethrowers. He was a funny-ass character in Swago. Really, both of those two together were murder machines. He would just light up a line of characters and then dump a volley of missiles at him. He truly is a mini tank. He is a war machine, Nick. So I know, like me, you don't have a ton of experience with BT-1. I've just come across him in a few of the comics I've read. But like 000, he's just one of those Star Wars creations where you can't deny that they're pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they sound cool and they look cool from this picture. Like, I don't have a ton of experience with him, but given the fact that he is, or the droid is such a crazy, wild murder bot, it seems like he should be in like B tier with his compatriot. But I would be open to moving him up if you feel like he deserves it.
No, I'm with you, man. I think he should go with 000. They're as kind of interesting as they are one-trick ponies. I mean, it's murder or bust. There is no in between. They're not really helpful outside of killing shit or blowing shit up. But he's damn cool looking. Like I'm telling you, I mean, that dude's got more ammunition in his tiny little body than you could possibly imagine could be crammed in there. So yeah, B tier. All right, we did it. Oh yeah, we did put one in the rusty bucket of bolts. I forgot. So if you just tuned in and you're coming here at the end going, what the hell are these guys doing? What are they looking at? Well, we just tier ranked out the top 25 droids of Star Wars. In S tier, we've got R2-D2, Huyang, Chopper, IG-11, K2SO, and Leet, L337 from Solo. A tier, we've got Goldenrod, aka C-3PO, a Droidica, HK-47, ND5 from Star Wars Outlaws and BB-8. B tier, our most packed, we've got 000, Proxy, B2 Emo, B1s, EVD9, Gonk Droid, BD1, BT1, and my favorite, the Mouse Droid. C tier, AP5 from Rebels, 8D8, Rex, and Pit Droids, and it still hurts me to say this, R5, and just a rusty bucket of bolts. All right. No, Divided, we did not include Pip. Trust me. I mean, there was Lola out there. I mean, I could quickly read from my initial list because, like I said, I had 38.
You had 38, you said.
Initially. Yeah. Some of the ones that got dropped. Lola from Kenobi, Forlom, IG-88, 2-1B, Dio, B2 battle droids, Magna Guards, Commando droids, IPDs, RA7, the Death Star droid, interrogation droids, TT-8L, Jabba's door droid, and R7, Ahsoka's droid that sacrificed itself during Order 66 to kind of help her and Rex get out. So like I said, we had a bigger list. We also didn't want to be doing this until Thursday night, so we settled on this 25. Real quick, we'll compare with our fans that filled out the poll. We had 116 votes, 10 participants total. Fans are saying their S tier, similar to ours, R2, Huyang, Chopper, and K2. A tier, they got B2, BB-8, C-3PO, IG-11, and Pit Droids. B tier, BD-1, Droidica, 8D-8, HK-47, and R5. C tier, they've got BT-1, 000, Proxy, AP-5, Rex, EV-99, ND-5, and Leet. Damn, Leet all the way in C. Just a rusty bucket of bolts, Gonk Droids. B1, Mouse Droids, how dare you?
I mean, Leet and C is disgusting. I don't know how they ranked Leet.
You all got this one wrong, even though it is your own opinions. But we love that you played. Stick around. You never know what we'll be doing next week. I might try to shift us away from a tier board because we've just done that back to back. So if anyone's got suggestions, is there anything you'd like our two dumbasses to talk about next week? Drop a line in our Discord, send us a DM on our socials, or use one of our email addresses that you can find on StarWarsTime.net. I'm Matt at StarWarsTime.net, or you could use support at StarWarsTime.net. Hit us up, let us know what you would like to hear. We still got a list, but it's a lot of ranking shit, so I feel like I need to get away from that for a week. Anyways, my friends and young Nick, it is time for the fan segment. We do it at the end of every episode of the SWTS. There's two ways to get involved. We got the question of the week. We now post that all across our socials, so just go to StarWarsTime.net and start following those motherfuckers. Turn on notifications. It's the only way you're going to see us. I promise you. I promise you. I even tried to send it out a day early, and it got buried even further. To just show you how bad, on Instagram, we've got like 1,500 followers. 15 people saw it. So that's where we're at. The only way you can help us out, like HK47 would say, is you meatbags need to interact, turn on notifications, share, comment, like. Thank you. All right, this week's question of the week, we always try to theme them towards our main topic. So naturally, Nick, we were asking them about what types of droids are their favorites, or which droid is their favorite. Not a ton of action, which is good for time's sake, but we did get a few, starting with the usual suspects over on IG.
All right. The first up in our question of the week response is 2797 Studios. Mr. Bat says, my all-time favorite droid has to be R2, the original SAS Master, and really the glue to the entire franchise. He caused trouble for his new master and kicked off a lifetime of fandom. There have definitely been some other notable additions like Chopper and K2, but R2 will always be the man, the droid thing. There we go. And then League of Extraordinary Sixthers, she chimes in and says, same for me, but I'll add BB-8 to the list. He's a solid mention. And then to close out this week's is Divided Skywalker saying R2-D2. There we go. Oh, wait, not the last one. So Divided says R2-D2, and then B-Mad says IG-11 and R5.
Bingo.
Well, sorry, B-Mad. Your favorite is a rusty bucket of bolts.
Nick, I'll tell you what. I mean, that was probably the most hardcore he's been in a few weeks. So he was like, eat shit. R5. What the hell happened to the light here? Keep going, Nick. I'm just fucking around.
But anyway, this is the end of the question of the week for this week. We're moving on to the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. To get involved with this one, make sure to follow us on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show, and then tag us at StarWarsTime.show. Add tag at StarWarsTime.show on all of your Instagram Star Wars posts. And if you do that, you will fall into our tagged section on Instagram, and that is where I pull the top 5 from. So to kick off this week's top 5, it is JZHZ6669 on Instagram, and he's given us an awesome Obi-Wan Kenobi shot here. It's almost like a teaser poster for season 2 of a potential Kenobi series. And then if you go to the next slide, we have an awesome Crack Mass Vader poster for season 2. And then if you go one more slide over, he's got both of them. So awesome work here from JZHC. I mean, this is an account that I've been seeing a ton recently, and it's hard for me to like not post them on the top 5 more often. But their quality of work is super high. They always have some really good shots every week, and this is a good example. Good use of atmosphere, good use of high quality figures, good posing, good angles on the shots all around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have this Kenobi yet. It should be coming soon. Definitely looks better than I expected, so that's great. But man, that Vader is awesome, and made even more awesome looking thanks to a shot like this from JZHZ6669 on Instagram.
And look, their most recent 2 have really popped off, and I'm super happy to see that. If you go to their feed, 2,200 on a Clone Wars poster, and then 3,500 or 3,100 on a Mandalorian and Grogu poster that they put together, all with toys. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, we're looking at those right now. Nick, thanks for the heads up. All right.
Yeah, JZHZ6669 on Instagram. Good stuff. Next up, we have our good friend over at Beyond the Dune Sea. This is Press Pause Photography, aka Connor, over there in the Dune Sea, and he's given us a really awesome shot of cracked mass Vader. Obviously, we just saw one of those 2 from Jay-Z. So is this like a new cracked mass Vader coming out, or is it just in the zeitgeist a bit?
It's kind of the zeitgeist. It probably came out, Nick, maybe 2 to 3 months ago, depending on how you pre-order or how you make payments. But I even have this motherfucker. I just haven't processed my shots because I'm a lazy asshole.
But yeah, Connor giving us the excellent look at that half Anakin, half Vader face. He even added in a little bit of glow to the Sith eyes there. Awesome work with the light diffusion from the lightsaber onto Vader's face as well.
Yeah, that Connor guy's got a few talents. Not just toy photography, but he's pretty damn good at making a Star Wars show that isn't just like us. Like, they actually do kind of have an actual show where Nick and I were a podcast that turned into a live stream. In fact, him or the Beyond the Dune Sea crew, Star Wars Sith, Will of the Force, Mortis FM, they were all out to Nashville Comic Con. They actually asked if we were going so we could all link up. It looks like they had a blast. One of these days, the older the kid gets, I might start getting back into the con circuit as media to go hang out with these mofos, because
if we can get a media pass,
we might be able to. I mean, they don't even have a website, and they've got obviously more followers than us on YouTube now because they actually have a good channel. But I think media badges are a little more loose than what we're used to.
I think media badges are way more dependent on social following now than anything else, for sure. Yeah, I think that's where they're leading.
Outside of Instagram, I don't know where they have a mass. Who cares? Either way, they got in. It looked like it was fun.
They got it.
And I haven't been to a con since 2019 when I was with young Nick in Chicago. So I'm kind of getting the itch again, just to go hang out with a bunch of smelly nerds and geeks and pretend that I'm not one.
There you go. So good stuff there from Connor at press_pause_photography_ on Instagram. Thank you as always, Connor. Next up, we have Coleccionista de Plástico, and it's another Vader. We have a heavy Vader theme this week in the top 5, and it's not the full body Vader. It's just Vader's helmet laying down right next to his lightsaber, and then you can see the hand of Vader reaching towards his helmet to pick it up and put it on. And then if you flip through the slides here, it's a very nice tribute to James Earl Jones with a ton of awesome Vader shots from many different creators out there on Instagram, paying homage.
A lot of creators that have forgot about us and don't tag. Get at it. Come on, Collectionista. Tell your buddies who you're linking up here. We used to know a lot of these names. They used to like us when we were 20,000 large. What happened? Where you at?
Hey, they're growing their own.
Like most things, Nick, they have grown beyond the Star Wars Time Show.
Hey, that's what people do. But hey, this shot here is awesome. I love the reflections. I love the lighting in this, and just like how shot. I mean, I don't know. It's like how reflective the helmet is, the lighting coming through the grates at the bottom.
Yeah, man. Hot toys are
really,
art. They really cool. Are. Hot toys are art. If you got the money and you're not going to put your family in the poorhouse, highly recommend shifting the Hot Toys or bust. It's the level of quality is unparalleled. But this is our buddy at collectionista _day_plastico over on that IG thing.
That is right. So next up, we got Chava.Fernando on Instagram, and he's given us with a leisure time
Stone Yoda.
Yeah, leisure time Yoda. So you see Yoda still in his full hobo Yoda garb, just in a full bubble bath though, eyes closed, just hanging out, relaxing in a bubble bath. Deserved after 900 years of training Jedi and trying his best to keep the galaxy safe. But it was just a funny shot here. You can even see like a little laundry basket.
Yeah, man, he's got to have like dollhouse props for this. That's what I love. Yeah. I mean, essentially Yoda in a dollhouse.
Yeah, Chava really put together a fantastic scene here all around. It wasn't just Yoda in the bathtub. You can see looks like maybe some candles on the ground. A full bathroom scene here for Yoda. So I'm not sure where this fit into his hovel on Dagobah.
No, this had to be. I mean, we'll just say this is Coruscant still. He's not full hobo yet. Yeah.
Yeah, this is before he left Coruscant.
Nick, this is actually, I know it doesn't work because in canon he's on Kashyyyk, but this is right during Order 66. This is what Yoda was doing.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, you know what? Nothing could possibly go wrong.
He's like, I'm good. I chopped off Gree's head. We're fine. He's like, I'm going to go take a bath, Chewie. Come get me if anything happens.
Everything will be totally okay from here.
I need to go meditate.
Oh man, good stuff. So that's at Chava.Fernando on Instagram. And to close out this week's top 5, we have Betty Ione _SW, one of our French fans out there. And this is probably the best shot of a Tusken Raider I've ever seen. Like
look at that.
It's a high quality figure for sure, but I love the diffusion of color in the background, the use of atmosphere, the stormtrooper bucket right next to him, and the pose is awesome as well. So really just a super high quality shot. I mean, I know that Chess Picks has some great stuff of Tuskens as well, but this is like a good close up Tusken shot.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, like you, I always appreciate what Betty Ione does. I like the simplistic background where it's mostly just light, and then they use atmosphere to kind of create a background. So it's always a muted. It's not a loud background, but it just seems to work. And it's the type of shit I like to do these days. The less is more in toy photography. I still got 8 of these things to clear off the desk, so I need to take a tip from Betty Ione. Put the screens away, screw Digirama, just get your lighting right and start blowing some smoke on that bitch. But this is Betty Ione _SW giving us the Tusken Chieftain from Book of Boba over on Instagram.
That is right. And that is the end of our top 5 and the end of our show for this week. So Matt, go ahead and close us
That's right,
out.
buddy. It's been another great show with all of you. We always appreciate those of you that come along for the entire ride live over on youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. If you want to try it out, see if you're a glutton for punishment, Wednesdays, 5 p. East, or as close as we can get, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Or you could just get your happy asses over to StarWarsTime.net, our home base over on the www. We've got all our links there that you really need to see. Content might not be as fresh as we used to get to it. That's just because there's not a lot of shit happening in Star Wars news. But you will get Nick's top 5 post there every Monday night on StarWarsTime.net. You will get the podcast version of this show every Thursday over on StarWarsTime.net. But like we said, for you all, it's very easy to point new fans, prospective fans, as you're stumping for the SWTS. Just tell them, hey, StarWarsTime.net. Don't worry about it. They got everything you need. If you want to follow on X, they got that. You want to on Instagram, we got that. YouTube, TikTok, we got that too. StarWarsTime.net. All right, my friends, like I said, if you want to try to potentially contribute to a topic for an upcoming show, we'd love to hear about it. Discord would be a great place to do it. We've got an open link in the description of this video right here. Or you can email us, like I said, go to starwarstime.net, contact us through there. Let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about. Otherwise, we will go to the rainy day checklist and find something. Is it Star Wars Smash or Pass? Star Wars Trivia? Another tier rank? You never know, but we got the ideas jotted down for a rainy day. But in between now and then, my friends, just remember this. There's always time for Star Wars Time. And if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with all of you. Always.